previously. And also, hoping you tried my recommendation of the ice cap made with chocolate milk from Tim Hortons. Much love from Alberta, Canada. So, Bolton, here's the thing, right? I've not forgotten about that. I haven't tried it, though. I'm almost now. I gotta lock in. I will do it next time for you, so that way I can give you my opinion on it. Maybe I'll get it on the day I do the next Q&A. Hey, could I please get a large ice cap, but with chocolate milk in it?
What size did you say again? Sorry.
Large. I feel like they didn't do it right. I don't know why. It seems like every time I come to Tim Hortons, there's always something that just goes awry here. Did I ask for it correctly? I know there was a building up moment here. I'm like, oh my God, I've never ordered it like that before. I was like, chocolate milk in it? Either way, let's give this thing a shot. Ooh, okay. Very chocolatey. I'm still not entirely sure if that's like because the base is chocolate milk or if they just use chocolate syrup. I feel like it's chocolate syrup, but either way, I mean, it's good. I have not had one of these in probably 3-4 years. I'm not even joking. It's been a long time, but it's just so indulgent. Oh my God. That's why I got a large, because I knew I'm gonna like this. I always like them. It's just been a long time. Whew. All right, let's get to the Q&A. YouTube and Patreon channel supporters, welcome to the March 2025 Q&A, which is now going live in April. I think I did that the last session as well, so I'm late. I'm sorry. It's one of those things where, I put it up and then I let weeks go by, but that's a good thing because comments have been accumulating. We even have one coming in right near the finish line. You love to see that, but that's the good thing about me being fashionably late here is that we can cover damn near all these questions, which is lovely because we do have a bunch. Now, of course, we do also have to acknowledge, what am I drinking today? Because I already had my ice cap earlier in the day. That's how I get my day started. I had a lot of errands to run, which I'm one of those people that takes the whole day to pound one of those things down, especially for how indulgent the ice cap with chocolate milk is. So got that large, and I actually finished it maybe 30 minutes ago. It's 9 p.m. right now, and I woke up, later in the day, so I do tend to sleep in. My sleep schedule is still just abhorrent, but for the most part, that just got wrapped up. So now I'm drinking Dr. Pepper cream soda. Now, here's the thing. I want to acknowledge this right away. I've been very good as far as full-blown sugar pop. I have been drinking a lot of Coke Zero. Put that down. Now my daily is water. Your boy is trying to make some good progress in life and being a lot healthier. But on occasion, I like to be a little bad. So yeah, I have the Dr. Pepper cream soda. So we'll be sipping on this every so often because I know we've got some stopgaps in here, which is courtesy of the actual questions that were submitted at hand. So you're all just absolutely lovely at this time. You know what? I'm not going to go for that first sip just yet because I will probably burp, and I hate doing that during these things. But we do have a lot of questions. We have 46 on Patreon, 17 on YouTube, and I think this is the most we got from email as well. So a lot of stuff. Strap yourselves in. As always, if you're just a selfish piggy and you want to see your own question, use the timestamps, which at this point they're so long that typically the timestamps don't get baked into the YouTube skimmer, so you might have to check the description or something. But anyway, we'll start off with Patreon here. Coming up with Lauren Frealy. She says, hope you've been doing good, Ryan. My question is less mean than last time. If you had to choose your favorite and least favorite thing about the gaming industry and landscape, what are they and why? Thanks, and you take it easy. You take it easy, Lauren. I don't remember your last question though. Were you mean? I don't recall that. But the gaming industry, man, it's a loaded question. I'll tell you, the least favorite thing, definitely in the recent, past 3-4 years, I'd say, the layoffs. It's ugly. It's absolutely brutal. There is nothing safe about working in the business, and there's been a lot of pessimism I'm hearing coming out of GDC. Is there's some of these people just graduating and they're ready to get in the field, but there's just a lot of uncertainty as to how much work is even there when you have tens of thousands of redundancies and you've got a lot of people in the workforce that can't find a job reliably, and sometimes you land a big studio, they get layoffs, or they have layoffs. It's ugly. In a way, I'm kind of glad I never got into that field directly in the games business, but that's easily like the worst thing so far. And then favorite, I mean, I don't know if it's like a cop-out answer, but it's just like what the industry has produced. And that too, in recent years, I think there's been a lot of pessimism also surrounding just modern games. And I don't know if that's because like it's the social media landscape and it's always fun to hate things, and it makes a headline, whether it's on, whether it's on YouTube from other colleagues or whether it's from legacy media sites or Twitter or Blue Sky. The negativity is just, it's exhausting. It's like, what are we doing here? There's so many good games to play. I mean, Christ, you could like just give up your life, walk away, get divorced, and you'd have all this you could abandon your family and play games until the day you die, and it will probably all be absolute bangers, and you won't be able to see all the amazing games that are available to you. I think that's easily the favorite. My favorite thing is that there's a lot of talented people still making incredible experiences. But thank you, Lauren, for your question, and I guess thank you for also being a lot nicer this time around. But I quite frankly don't recall what you said last time, so I think you got off pretty easy there. Hozi says, side question, Mystic. You want my Yu-Gi-Oh cards? Side question. Did you have a main question? That's my real curiosity here. I'm not seeing it, so I'll scroll back up to your side question, which I'm going to consider to be a main question at this point. I would say yes, but typically I like to not, buy things directly from viewers just as a conflict of interest security between the both of us. It's not that I don't trust you. I try to not trust anybody, but somebody close to me, he wanted to, like, he had old Yu-Gi-Oh cards, and he's like, hey, do you want these? And I looked at him and I appraised them, and he had like a handful of things that were valuable. So it was fun to look at stuff and look at set codes, and now I can like properly appraise cards, and I was able to give him some money for that stuff too. So that was a cool little transaction. So not your cards, but if I see them near me or something out in the wild, I'm usually down for that. John says, have you played Jammer Lammy? What did you think? Like a long time ago. I can't tell you the last time I played that particular side entry in the Parappa universe, but I remember enjoying it. It's fun. It's, hip, unique. You vibe with it. Got some good music going. I remember young Ryan having a good time with it. And it's on my hit list as far as PS1 games I got to go buy. norfairaffair says, you have remained strong, my friends. You'll be rewarded for that, I assure you. Now we must drink and forget the bloodshed. When are you coming to Vegas? Would love to see you at one of the several retro game shops here. You take it easy. norfairaffair, I feel like you were maybe expecting, was this something where you expected me to be like super deep into the questions where I would have started at the very bottom and then worked my way up? I'm actually working, I don't know if this is common, so I don't know what the trend is. I'm working in reverse order. So the oldest comments are getting in first, and then the first ones, they'll be like towards the end of this. But I mean, hey, if this is you trying to give me a break for a drink, I suppose I will take it. I actually should, you know what? Because here's the thing, right? See this full cup? This does not hold a full bottle. Now this has my ice. The tumbler keeps the drink super cold. I can spend 2 hours doing this conversation and this will still be super cold. This is becoming room temperature very quickly. I don't like that. So now I got to do this. I got to pour that small sip, and I made room. Now that I've had a small sip, I've made room. So I got to pour the little remainder of this into the... Oh, did you hear that fizz? It's getting me excited. As for Vegas, do you remember? I've been to Vegas. I went there, unless you're asking again, but I was there 2 years ago for Pokemon Go World Tour, the Hoenn Tour, whatever it was. And that was at, what's that park called? Seaside, Bayside, Side, something. It's a very big public park. That's where it was. I was there for 3 days, I want to say, and I went down to, I think it's called Retro City Games, the one that was near the Strip, and the one in Henderson. Had a few pickups. I don't know when I'll go back to Vegas, to be honest, because I just don't tend to travel that often, and certainly not for anything work-related, so it usually is like vacation stuff, and I'm not doing that too often. But I mean, Vegas was an interesting town. That was the first time I went, was 2 years ago. So it was a lot of fun. I'm not sure if it's something where I'll go back anytime soon, but I would see myself going again for sure. Thank you for your question. Crux says, hey Ryan, I recently went to Japan. I know you've been speaking of wanting to visit, and boy, oh boy, you've got some stuff to see. You'll lose your mind in Akihabara. I hope one day you get to travel there. Anyway, while I was there, I got my hands on a Pocket Station. Proud to own that in my collection now. I also bought a 64 gigabyte PS Vita memory card. For some reason, I cannot format it. You got any ideas of what might be wrong? As far as I know, Japanese memory cards should be compatible with the rest of the regions for PS Vita. I'm real bummed I can't play anything on my Vita now. I know you don't like double post, so I've got one more question, which is optional, really. You've heard of the disk drive and stick modules being frequently out of stock, right? For the disk drive, I get it. Everyone wanted one for the PS5 Pro, myself included, but I can't see why the stick modules aren't available more reliably. Did Sony just offer them and can't meet demand, or they simply don't want to spend the resources to have them available constantly? What's your opinion on the matter? So yeah, I would love to go to Japan. No clue when that's going to happen. Believe me, I'm sure I would be that meme where it's like thing in the West, boring, but thing in Japan, freak out. It'd be amazing. And I would also love to finally start testing out some of my very poor Japanese. But for the memory card, yeah, you should be able to format it. They're region free. They can work on all Vitas. So I'm not entirely sure why. Sounds like it might be a bad card, which is kind of a pain. So hate to say it, but that's probably something that you should have checked before you maybe came back home. I don't know. You could also try it on a different Vita. I don't know if that's an option to you, but that definitely is a pain because the 64 gig is a lot of money. Although I assume it's a lot more affordable nowadays. I have not checked the prices for PS Vita cards in quite a while, but yeah, I don't know what's going on there. And then for the disk drive, stick modules, and particular stick modules, I mean, it's one of those Occam razor answers of they just didn't make enough, and they're still not making enough. I don't really know why. I mean, I guess I could see if we're talking about things that are a little bit more, I don't want to say niche, but like you gotta figure they're low volume. I mean, these are optional accessories for a broader product. The stick modules, the sort of umbrella there, or the reverse pyramid, like it gets smaller and smaller, right? We're talking about a $200 Pro style controller, which is very low volume in relation to the majority of PS5 owners that are just using standard DualSense controllers. And then below that is the stick modules at $20 a pop. Yeah, I would imagine they're just not making enough of them. And then you've got people that are just being bad actors and buying up a bunch of them and trying to flip them on eBay or something. So it sucks. Like it definitely drives me up the wall. It's a pain in the ass. But same thing with the disk drive and why that's also occasionally it pops in and out of stock and things like that. It's just a supply and demand thing. They're just not making enough. Why? I don't really know. They should at the very minimum put in a big order and then just sit on those things and make sure it's reliably in stock long enough to where that also impedes on people trying to scalp them. That's the best I can do for you, which is give you that answer. It's not a great situation, but hopefully they do get back on that soon. It does tend to pop into stock on occasion when you're watching it very closely. pngnat says, hello Ryan, what are some of the games coming out this year that you were looking forward to checking out? As for me, I'm looking forward to playing both Clair Obscur Expedition 33 and South of Midnight. Hope you are doing great, and thank you for all the videos. Thank you so much, I appreciate it. I'm excited for a lot. Of course, Clair Expedition 33. That game looks ridiculous and super weird, and I can vibe big time with that. Basically, what is it? It's French turn-based combat, and it's also not overstaying its welcome. Big time into that. South of Midnight looks cool. I don't know when I would get to that, even if it eventually ships on PlayStation. That's probably something I'll wait on for a little bit. But, I mean, definitely GTA 6, your Death Stranding 2, Ghost of Yotei. Apparently, Blue Prince is going to be really good as well. That game's dropping very soon on PS Plus Extra as a day one launch title, and we're hearing that game's going to be very good. So there's a lot of stuff that's coming out within this calendar year that I'm very excited for, but definitely the standout titles are always going to catch my eye. And I guess this God of War game that we're allegedly getting, I'm still not really convinced that's even happening, but we'll see. Backlog Wizard Nick. Hey Ryan, I'm wondering if maybe in the game industry we should focus more on individual creators rather than studios. What I mean by this is that nowadays you hear a lot of talk about a studio not being the studio that made game X, Y, and Z anymore because many of the old staff left, so people are still waiting for the new studio X, Y, and Z game, but then when it comes out they are disappointed, and afterwards you hear that no one from the previous games is actually working at that company anymore, so it doesn't really make sense to be excited for a game from a particular studio. I'd like to compare this to movies. Not one single person is excited for the new Warner Brothers movie or the new Universal Pictures movie just because one of these companies is behind it. What people really want to know is if it's a new Christopher Nolan or Martin Scorsese movie. You care about the real creative minds behind those movies and not the companies themselves. So shouldn't we much more care about names of individual game creators rather than studios? Take it easy. Bonus question, if you've got the time. In a recent Click R3, you said that Mario and Astrobot are not going to happen. At the same time, isn't Sony working on the Zelda movie? I know that Sony Pictures and SIE are not the same, but it's still the same company. So how big is that leap really? Have a great day, sir. Just to knock out the bonus question right away, it's a very big leap. They're different. I mean, Sony Pictures and SIE are completely different organizations. They're part of a broader organization, which is Sony Group, the Sony Group, but we're talking about, you'd be surprised how different that is, because even within SIE, you have scenarios of departments within SIE that don't really communicate that well with each other. So it's like, I know in view it's like, oh, it's all Sony, but like they work very differently. This is kind of what like Kaz, I think it was the Kaz Hirai era where they initially started the Make.Believe One Sony initiative, which is trying to get them to communicate back and forth a lot better. And I mean, you've got a scenario where like Sony Pictures for the longest time was just doing terrible with trying to, do video game movies and adaptations and those things just not going anywhere. And then we've got PlayStation Productions, which was formed separately from PlayStation staff. That's Asad Kizilbash that went on to lead PlayStation Productions, and he still holds a role at SIE2 as well. And now it's like you see the ball rolling on that. It's just when you think it's is it really a big leap? It is. There's really not that kind of crossover. Like that's why the Sony Pictures thing and Zelda is working out the way that it is. It would be unheard of to have SIE resources go into a Nintendo property, but the movie division is a lot different. As for your other question, though, your main question, here's the thing. I would argue that we are seeing a lot more of that nowadays, which is what you're getting at. I mean, I think oftentimes you are seeing a lot of headlines at this point that sort of fall back on these big names, whether it's your, Sakurai or Jason Blundell keeps coming up a lot, Jade Raymond, and then a lot of these folks at SIE Studios, the PlayStation Studio division. We're talking about Brian Inahar and obviously Neil Druckmann, Brian Fleming. I mean, these are definitely names. You're Ted Price, right? And that was kind of a big deal that Ted Price was leaving because he was there for 30 years and now he's walking away. So I think if you follow that core audience a lot more, if you're in the core audience, which I would argue if you're here watching this, then you're in that spectrum. So you kind of already know that this has been happening a little bit more in the past. I would say 10 or so years, maybe a little bit more recent 5 years, it's being more discussed openly. But compared to movies, you're right. Like anybody sort of off the street would generally have an idea of a Martin Scorsese film, a Christopher Nolan film. But I mean, I don't know. It's just that disconnect between the two industries. I mean, the thing is, I know some studios, there is that notion of there's been a lot of turnover, so they're not the same studio anymore. You would actually be surprised how many longtime staff are still at certain teams. And it's kind of hard when you think about how, there's project leads, there's game directors, narrative directors. So it's always interesting when you hear like, oh, Amy Hennig left and now she's at Studio X, Y, and Z or something. But, Naughty Dog was still made up of many that were from Jak and Daxter games. You know what I mean? Like when teams get up to 100 plus in the AAA space, you would be surprised how many are still around. It might be like a programmer that you've never heard of, but sure enough, they've been like let's say they began in QA, then they got into programming and then lead programming, and they've been at the studio for, let's say, 10, 15 plus years. And you see a lot more of that nowadays, but it would be hard to track so many of those names when you get down to like the roles that are outside of your narrative or just basic game director roles. You know what I mean? So it's also kind of just hard to track, I think, generally for a lot of people. But I mean, if you're in that core audience, that space, I think you've probably seen that shift has been happening in recent years. Trick DX says, yo, Ryan, have you seen the new Katamari game that drops on Apple Arcade? More Katamari is always great news. Yes, of course, I got to be a little upset because it's on Apple Arcade, and it's like, I would love that to be on a console. I can't see myself playing a Katamari game on Apple Arcades, and I would imagine that eventually it will ship on console. I hope. So I'm always pumped for more Katamari stuff. Excuse me, but I initially saw that and I was like, I guess I'll have to wait on that and see where it ends up going. But yes, awesome. I love Katamari. Beau Tepley, I've been playing a ton of PSVR 2 and I'm so happy that it exists. The VR landscape reminds me of gaming when I was a kid. The games were a lot tighter back then and perhaps linear. What I mean is you could play a game in 10 hours, give or take, and move on to the next. Plus, the graphics kind of remind me of the PS3 days, even though the graphics are improving rapidly. Do you agree? My fave game so far would probably be Call of the Mountain, but I also like Synapse a lot. Of the two new ones that just came out, Behemoth and Alien. Most of my platinums on PS5 have been PSVR 2 games. I thought you'd like that little nugget. They are much more kind to your time as a gamer. I would agree. Yeah, 100%. I mean, that's what I also really enjoy about virtual reality games is that in a way they know that they can't overstay their welcome. VR is still that medium I find of like, you kind of want to be out the door in 5 to 10 hours on a lot of those experiences. So I don't mind that at all. I think it's excellent to just start a VR game and then maybe in a weekend you're wrapping the whole game up. And I do appreciate you calling out some of those games. Like Synapse is easily one of my favorites. I think Before Your Eyes, if you have not done that one just yet, my God, and that's like a single session game. You can do that like within an hour and it's incredible. That's what I love about the VR space is that the kind of VR experiences that really lean into the medium and know when to wrap up their time with you. That's what I love it. It's sort of a perfect package. So yes, 100% agree. And I'm glad you're enjoying PSVR 2. It's great to see some optimism surrounding that headset because you would think that it's the worst goddamn thing you could ever possibly put your money into. But if you appreciate your time, it's a lot of fun. It really is. Ben Lindey, man, what to ask? I think I just want to say thank you for always remaining so genuine. It feels like selling out is celebrated these days, but you've always remained true to yourself. It's inspiring in ways you don't realize. How do you do it, man? Well, that's way too goddamn kind. I don't know. I don't even know if I should get credit for that. I mean, I feel like there are others that kind of do a similar thing, but maybe I don't know. Maybe I'm just looking in the wrong places. I don't know. It's a very kind of you to say that, Ben. I mean, what do you mean by selling out exactly? You know, I mean, is it like doing ad reads? Is it, maybe conforming to some sort of like groupthink mentality of like everyone shitting on AC Shadows, so everybody should be doing that? I don't know. I mean, I've very much always tried to just maintain my own opinions. Like, here's I guess an answer I can give you. I've made it a conscious effort for like pretty much since the channel started of trying to not be so easily influenced by what others are thinking and where that sort of mentality is shifting. And I think that's also why in recent years I sometimes go out of my way to add these qualifiers before, let's say, an LTPS news story where I say, I know this is what people want to hear, but X, Y, and Z thing, this explanation, or like, I know this is what people are thinking, but I just don't see it that way, and here's my explanation. If that's maybe what you're getting at, I've always tried to like maintain that for sure. I don't want to be influenced. I don't want to feel the need to, abide by what the audience wants to hear. And it seems like, generally speaking, maybe I'm doing that so often nowadays because it's just been so shitty. It feels like it's been really shitty. It's depending on where you look and watch this stuff and what your timelines look like, it's brutal out there. So if that is what you're getting at, I thank you for acknowledging that. I do appreciate it. I try to be conscious of that and not lose my way, if that makes any sense. Dylan says, hey, Mr. Ryan, I've always noticed you're wearing young and reckless clothes throughout the years. Lately, I've been watching some of the old LTPS videos out of boredom. Oh, God. And even still, you're wearing the same brand. Maybe you've answered this question before, but is there a specific reason for it? It's always been something that's caught my eye. I love the channel, by the way, and I hope you're doing well. Thank you. Thank you, Dylan. I've definitely answered this before because it does come up occasionally. However, it doesn't really come up that often anymore because you should notice that outside of a few, I bit my tongue. I don't know if you noticed that. Outside of a few hoodies that I wear, I don't really have a lot of young and reckless clothes anymore. Like this is a Goodfellow tee from Target. So basically, the way to explain the timeline here was when that clothing brand came out. I was always like a streetwear kid. Like I was a skater type. I liked wearing DCs and all the sort of skater brands essentially. And then when Young and Reckless came to the scene, that was Christopher Paff's new brand that was drama from like Robin Big, Fantasy Factory, and I just liked the art, and I thought it was like super cool to kind of get into a brand like at ground zero. So I bought into it, and I was able to collaborate with them where I was part of their street team, and that was like a small little program where if you did social media work for them and promoted the brand early on, you were the sort of ambassador, and they would give you a discount code for the entire site. So I had 30% off on like all the clothing basically. Every single time they had a new line drop, I just had this code where 30% off immediately. They would send out free gear and stickers and necklaces and just things to wear, and so I had accumulated so much Young and Reckless, and I liked the clothing that I was just exclusively wearing it for a long time. I don't know if like growing out of it is the right word here, but like I just, it got to a point where I didn't need to buy clothes for such a long time. And when I eventually had to start buying new shit, I don't know. Maybe I just got cheap, but I was like, I kind of like the look of just plain tees, and you can get these at Target for like $6, and I think they fit me well. So I was like, all right, I'll just start wearing these. Like the hoodies. Here's the thing: because I didn't need clothes for a long time, I never needed to buy new Young and Reckless. So I don't have any like new shirts from them. I do still like their hoodies a lot though. So I did get new Young and Reckless hoodies for the first time in years, like maybe a few months ago, and so I got 3 new ones that I'm wearing like somewhat recently. So that's maybe how you saw that. Otherwise, yeah, old LTPSs wore it constantly. Nowadays, though, if it's a shirt, if I'm wearing a shirt, like it's not Young and Reckless, and that's most of the time. So in a weird way, it was super cool because when I ordered those hoodies, like 2 months ago or something, and I got them in, and I put on the one where it's like the old YR logo. That's like their classic OG logo, and that was the one that showed up all the time in those old LTPS videos. I put it on, and I literally I looked in the mirror and I was like, damn, this feels like high school. Which in a way, I don't know if that was like sad in a way, like oh man, now I'm getting too old, maybe I shouldn't be wearing this thing, but I felt young. It felt interesting and cool, and so that's the whole story. Nowadays, I don't really have a lot of it anymore. Like most of those shirts, they are gone, but I do still have a lot of the old gear and things like that. Some of the little goodies and trinkets they gave out. Andrew Pack says, hey man, I missed the last Q&A, so I'll pretend it's still December. What is the coolest video game related Christmas gift you've ever received? 2, what is the best non-video game related Christmas gift you've ever received? I'll take it easy if you take it easy. I guess you're not taking it easy. It's weird. I give that advice with the experience of I'm not doing that myself, so you need to be doing it for me. We need to counteract. But if what you're laying down is that we both have to do it, then you're in for a rude awakening. Having said that, Andrew, your questions. Coolest video game related Christmas gift is easily, I think, when Terrell gave me a very nice copy of Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness and also the strategy guide for GameCube, which I know value-wise that's a lot, and they were nice, clean copies, and I was like, oh, that was really nice of him. I really appreciated that from a longtime friend, basically family. We're family at this point. And then non-video game related Christmas gift. Here's the thing. I'm starting to not remember if we're talking about like younger. I'm sure I have like amazing gifts that I got as a kid. Like I think I got a bike on my birthday, I think, and that was like a really big moment for me. That's like a core memory. Christmas was like primarily video games. So I think I'll have to give another recent answer, which was again from Terrell, where he got me a giant Yu-Gi-Oh card, a 24 by 36 Yu-Gi-Oh card that you can hang up. It's not in this room, but it's relinquished, and that's in my other room. And that was a cool if you count that is a cool non-video game gift, and that was last year. So I don't know if it's my memories going here, but that's what I've got for you. Joshua de la Rosa. Hey Ryan, hope you're doing well. My question is, what is your favorite limited edition console and handheld? Mine would probably be the Kingdom Hearts 3 PS4 Pro. You take it easy. I think you should as well. Yeah, man, that is tough. There's a lot of cool ones. I really like that Trusty Bell or whatever. Not Dirge Cerberus. It's Advent Children. The Advent Children PlayStation 3. That console has the lion logo on it, but like it's a matte black. It's not a glossy black. So it's the old PS3 design where it's the fat console, but it's a matte black, and I think it looks gorgeous. Ironically, I don't have it, but I think that thing looks incredible. If I want to also give out some other answers here that I'm at least thinking of immediately, I sort of like zero in on the Taco Bell PS4, which is just a super silly thing. Those actually aren't too rare either. Like, they're uncommon. They made a lot of them, so you can get those for not an obscene price, but I think those are always kind of goofy. I don't have one of those either, but the Taco Bell PS4 and the other usual suspects are 20th anniversary PS4, the 30th anniversary PS5s, which I'm happy that I have the standard console. And then the 500 million PS4 Pro is also a gorgeous machine as well. But, and handhelds too. Yeah, handhelds, there's a lot. Like the Final Fantasy X PS Vita is gorgeous. So probably just a handful of those things. Ironically, I don't have like most of those, but that's probably what it would be. Oh, excuse me. RS88 says, hi, Ryan. If NPCs had a union, which PlayStation game would get shut down first for unsafe working conditions? You take it easy and keep up the amazing work from London, UK. This is such a silly question. If NPCs had a union. Okay, so let's think about this. I'm trying to immediately think of games with like a lot of NPCs. But I don't know if like, I mean, they're not, these would be playable technically, but I think of Patapon as far as like group work. That's a lot of Patapons, you know what I'm saying? So, but they're not really non-playable. You are controlling all of them holistically, but they don't necessarily have it all that easy. This is such a stupid question. I love it. I don't know. I immediately think of that. Although there's third-party games that are coming to me, but I'm thinking, like, I'm sure there's something I'm missing here. I don't know why, but I keep also thinking about like Little Big Planet, if only because it's like that. But they're playable. Like the Sackboy that you're controlling is playable, but for some reason my mind is thinking, oh, Little Big Planet, because that poor little Sackboy is working for hours in the creator, and he's getting no time off, but you're controlling him. I don't know why I'm thinking that. Although in fairness, if we're talking about LBP2, there's the sort of sack bots, but those are, I think those are like synthetic at that point, right? They're not real sack boys and sack girls. I don't know. You're going to have to maybe lay out a little bit more for me on this one, but that's kind of where my mind was going. It's a goofy question, and I'm sure there are much better answers, but on these like on the fly things, I can't think of one immediately. I would maybe need somebody to sort of spitball some ideas back to me, and I could agree with them if they come up with a better example. RDHV says, hey Ryan, I hope you're doing well. I was curious what you think about Genshin Impact, not just as a game, but more as a concept for Sony IPs in the live service space. I really believe Genshin is the best live service game and has the best balance with the gacha mechanics and live service for free to play and what you pay for. Hope you have a great spring. Thank you so much. I hope you have a great spring as well. The thing is, I don't really know that much about Genshin Impact outside of like, I used to date somebody and she would play it like a lot. And so I would watch her like do her dailies, and that's like all I remember. So I have no real foundational understanding of how they monetize that game. So I can't really give you, I think, a fair answer, to be honest. It's something I don't know that much about. What I do know is that Genshin is very popular, very big. And maybe that gets into what you're inferring to, is that it is very friendly for free-to-play players. I know that she did not put any money into it, but she was committed to the daily. So I mean, maybe that's the inference there, is that it was very friendly in that landscape. I guess I'll have to look into it, but I just don't know enough. My apologies. Tiago Artilheiro. I fucked it up. Artilheiro. Hi, Ryan. Don't have a question this time. Just giving you a shout out and keep it up with the amazing work. Take a sip. Let's keep rolling. Take it easy. I knew there were some breaks in here. Thank you, Tiago. Especially because, as I mentioned earlier, I have to work my way into pouring this guy into this guy. So I need to take some sips from this guy to transfer this guy. I could just drink right from this guy, but he's already getting close to room temperature. So I got to combine this guy with this guy to even out that temperature and get it nice and cold again. that was the most ridiculous roundabout way to make an explanation that really didn't need to be explained. God, it's so good. I do love that slightly creamy texture. They've also got this, it's called a Sparkling Sugar Cookie Dr. Pepper at Sonic Drive-In. I saw that, like, on their menu, and I damn near, like, had some sort of stroke. I was like, holy fuck, I gotta order that. It's very good. It's very indulgent, not overly sweet. And now I'll probably get that every time I go to Sonic. In fact, the last time I was going to go to a Sonic, the one that was closest to me said it was out of stock on the app. And so I, like a disgusting bastard, said, okay, well, I got to go to the other location, which is further away, because they had it. I hope you appreciated that insanely bizarre tangent. ChunkTheHutt. Hey, Ryan, I'm attending PAX East for the first time, and I'm pretty nervous about it. I've only been to one other convention, Guardian Con in 2017. I was wondering if you had any advice or tips about things you wish you had known before your first big convention. Also, I was wondering if you were going to PAX East. Anyway, thank you for the advice. Any advice you have, and if you are going, I hope I can meet you there sometime, even if just for a second. Have a great day. I'm fairly certain I am not going, but if you ever see me at a convention, you are more than welcome to approach, and we can talk for absolutely more than a second, as long as you want to talk. I can easily talk people's ears off for as long as humanly possible about video games or whatever the hell you want to shoot the shit about. As for advice, I don't know what you're like really looking to do. Now, I've never been to a PAX, so I don't know how many like vendors there are. Are you going there to like to buy stuff or just like play games and just like enjoy the vibe? I don't know. I mean, the one thing I can say is that you'll probably be on your feet for a good portion of the day. So just be mindful of that. You're going to be walking around a lot. Stay hydrated. Also, I mean, usually with conventions and food, I mean, they're like in downtown centers, and you're usually pretty central and within walking distance to some other food options. And I will almost always go for that versus any sort of food they're serving at the convention, because it's just like shitty things that they're trying to upsell, like a hamburger for fucking $9 or something stupid like that, and it's like obviously terrible. If you're gonna spend $10 for a burger, go to like a local pub, spend the extra $5, and then get like a very sort of steakhouse style like or pub like burger. You know what I mean? Like, food wise, that's what I would always do. If you really want to like get your time in on the convention, like I bring a protein bar or something and just like eat that halfway in, and it's like legitimately like, it may not be delicious, but it's a protein bar. You need protein to keep your energy up and things like that. So if you just want to like vibe, enjoy the time, and not have to leave the convention, that's normally what I would do. Just stay hydrated, enjoy your time. And shopping wise, if you're gonna buy stuff, typically price check things right then and there on your phone, which sometimes like cellular service, depending on the venue, is not going to be great, but get a rough idea of what you're looking for, what the fair market value is, especially in like good condition, or if it's not in great condition, just understand that in relation to what vendors are trying to charge you things. Always haggle. You can probably get things cheaper than what they're listed as, because there's that convention tax that they call it, which I always like to remind people. If you're buying stuff at a convention, yeah, there's convention tax, but if you're buying things like off eBay, then you're already sort of evening that out, right? So like something maybe a little bit more at a convention, but you can see it right there, sight seen versus sight unseen. And eBay listings, you're talking about taxes and shipping. So typically, like, if you can talk somebody down to like near market value and pay cash at a convention and carry cash, because people will definitely work with you if you can pay cash right then and there, you will come out cheaper usually for games you're trying to buy at a convention. So that's definitely the thing I would be concerned about if you're looking to buy stuff. But I hope that helps. And you have a great day. Lucas, hello, Ryan. I would like to ask you how much free time for the gaming and stuff you are getting nowadays, especially when it comes to gaming, but not for the content. Do you find it playing with the Switch or Xbox more often than PlayStation? Thanks for the content. Love you. I love you. Thank you so much for this question. What do I find? How much free time? Not a lot of free time. No, not a lot at all. Right now I've been super busy. So I would say Jesus Christ, the past 2-3 weeks, I've not played anything outside of like maybe an hour of I'm dying over here. The Yu-Gi-Oh! Early Days collection. I was like I was getting a lot of time in on FF7 Rebirth on PS5, and that was after spending a lot of time with Remake, which the Remake PS5 version, because I wanted to clean up the platinum on that and sort of be refreshed on the story before I get into Rebirth. So I did somewhat have a decent amount of free time, like over that initial like holiday weekend period going into the new year. So that was a lot of that time was on Remake. And so usually I try to cool down a little bit in your January, February season, but now it's sort of ramping back up. So I don't really have a lot of free time. And I'll admit, like Xbox, it's so hard for me to get any time on that. Switch, less so, and PlayStation, barely. If we're talking like free time that's not for content, it's been pretty tough as of late, but hopefully I can change that at some point. So that's kind of where I'm at right now with all that. Crimson says, "Hey Ryan, I just subscribed to you here on Patreon, so I apologize if this has already been asked. I've recently been going for the platinum trophies of the Crash Insane trilogy, so my question for you is, which Crash game is your favorite of the trilogy? P.S. I love the Blue Eyes White Dragon blanket. Where did you get it? LOL. Thanks for the great content. You take it easy. Update, I've gotten the platinums for all 3 Crash games now, on to Spyro 2 and 3 next. God damn. Well, kudos to you, because those games are a fucking nightmare to platinum. So congratulations. You are on the other side of the tunnel, because the Spyro games are very much approachable, fun, just joyful platinums versus Crash. So kudos to you. So the Blue Eyes blanket, Amazon, baby. It's Konami officially licensed. You can just go and buy that thing. I believe it's still in stock. Also has the SDY Yugi art as well, for Dark Magician, I should say. So it's got that. It's got the SDK Kaiba Blue Eyes art, so you can get it there. And then what was the other actual main question here? Favorite of the Crash? I'm probably I was going to say first one, but maybe Warped. It might be a terrible thing to say, but like, you're asking for the trilogy. I unironically love Crash Bash. It's not in the trilogy, and it's also not made by Naughty Dog, but like that party game I feel like is super underappreciated, and I get so much fun out of Crash Bash versus the main trilogy. So I would say probably Warped, though, for just sticking to the trilogy, but I can't not mention how much I love Crash Bash in that context. Critteren says, "Hi Ryan, we'll try to keep it brief this time for once. Can you name your favorite platinum that you have obtained on each console of yours? Also, I just want to mention your new PSR series is awesome. Big love from Denmark as always." Thank you so much. Big love from the US over here, Critteren. I appreciate you. I'm praying I can do more PSR videos fairly soon. I'm trying to do it in a way where I bank like bank like up to anywhere from 4 to 8 episodes, and then release them back to back. That's what I was trying to do this last holiday season, and I only spat out 2, which was I hated how that worked out. I really want to try and have like a sort of season of the series, so here's a new episode, and guess what? You don't have to wait 6 months for another one. Like episode, and see how that season does, and that will dictate if I can do more. But favorite platinum on each console, holy Jesus, that's going to be tough. I mean, there is only technically 4, so PS3, 4, 5, and Vita. Maybe like Golden Abyss. Golden Abyss is not super easy, because you had to do that stupid thing with like Nier, if I remember correctly, so I did that junk. PS3, I'm always really proud of GTA 4, because that was a pain in the ass. PS4, I guess Cuphead, because that was really challenging, and I got through that. And then PS5, Returnal, because I love me some Returnal. So that would probably be my my answer there. But appreciate it. Thank you so much. Dennis says, "Hi Ryan, in a recent video you mentioned that Sony still intends to drop a handheld in 2027 that will natively run PS4 games. While that idea sounded good to me a few years ago, I just don't think it makes sense at all to release a PS4 machine when we'll be 7 years deep into the PS5 cycle with PS6 right around the corner. What is the idea here? Can you really market a machine running decade-old games? And why when things like the ROG Ally are able to run PS5 era games just fine. Example, Returnal on stable 60 FPS. I personally don't think a PS4 handheld is happening anymore, but I would love to hear your thoughts on it. So the thing about the PS4 handheld, I mean, that's just a sort of baseline conversation of what was a few years ago, and that was before the rumors even started. I always said, like, if Sony does another handheld, it would have to be, as an example, a PS4 handheld, as in you log in and your library is there. I do think you're also getting a little bit tripped up on just the sort of, at a certain point, it's semantic of like PS4 games and PS4, like it's PS4 era software. I mean, broadly speaking, we're talking about games that are on Steam, Switch, PS4, Xbox One, and they all get maybe native or spruced up versions, or they obviously have higher end settings on a PC rig if applicable. You know what I mean? Like, we're in this diminishing return landscape. I mean, a lot of games all sort of bleed together, and a lot of modern games at this point can easily still ship on PS4 outside of your big AAA, which are few and far between. You know what I mean? So semantically, it's not so much about it only being a PS4 machine, because the other plausible thing here is that, yes, in 2027, with a lot of PS5 software, not a lot of PS4 releases coming out anymore, and then we're on the cusp of PlayStation 6. The running theory now is that the SDK, the next software development kit for PlayStation 6, they'd probably also update the existing PS5 one, but there would be very similar to how a studio can ship on PS5, do a PS5 Pro mode, now native PS6 software. There could be an accommodation for, doing a handheld mode, I guess would be the better way to put it, right? I mean, because at that point, we don't have to necessarily say the handheld can run all PS5 software, because as far as SoC and thermals and where we'll be by 2027, you're not going to be able to do PS5 era stuff, because like you say with Returnal, I mean, that's even on a ROG Ally, like you're not necessarily getting the PS5 version on a ROG Ally. You're making some compromises on that ROG to get it to run the way that it is. So certain software would still have to be a bit bespoke, but just broadly speaking, we're talking about software from PS4 onward that can play. And that's the exciting prospect. As you log into PlayStation Network in 2027, you know that all the PS4 stuff works. And I mean, I don't know, there's still thousands of PS4 games that are worth playing and going back to. Switch still gets PS4 era stuff, and we're on Switch 2 coming up very soon, which is going to be basically more PS4 era stuff that'll actually look PS4 era on that machine. People are pretty excited about that. And Switch 2 is conceivably going to sort of increase the expected, I don't want to say lifetime, but it sort of reinvigorates that performance area, right? That PS4 era software when Switch 2 comes out. It will, give studios a reason to continue releasing games and be a bit more modest as far as how they look and what kind of machines they can run on. That's what is exciting about a handheld PlayStation, is that by the time it comes out, you can log in, you'll expect that most PS4 stuff will play, and then maybe PS5 and PS6 era stuff will have these more optimized handheld versions that you can download and play. And Switch 2, if anything, is going to be a great gateway to allowing studios to comfortably do that across, let's say, Switch 2 games, and also PlayStation 5 and 6, whatever the timeline is for when that handheld comes out. But, act as though the PS4 software is not like an important part of that equation. I think if anything, if the PS4 stuff, let's say, didn't work, that would be a tough pill to swallow. Logging into PSN, and it feels like a PS Vita problem where it's a fresh library, because it's not going to run PS5 stuff unless you patch these games individually. You can't get a PS5 SoC in a handheld form factor by 2027. So even PS5 stuff today is going to have a separate patch for it. So you want to be able to log in, have your instant game collection and PS Plus stuff there, which is majority PS4 software still. You know what I mean? So it's just on a broad spectrum. It's going to be 4 to also 5 and 6 era games with patches, and Switch 2, if anything, plays kind of a big role in that, especially the Steam Deck and ROG Ally and all these portable PCs. Those are basically all PS4 era games when you start to boil it down. That's what you're buying those things for. So it's kind of like this weird multifaceted thing of like, it does still make a lot of sense in the context of making sure you log in and software just works, and PS4 will play a pivotal role in that. Daniel Estevez says, hey Ryan, I love video game statues and figures. Will you ever go down the rabbit hole, or have you already gone down it of collecting or just buying video game statues and figures? Thanks, love the vids. Jesus Christ. I am not good at reading after 47 minutes, it seems. I apologize, Daniel. I am a little bit stupid. Having said that, your question, of course, yeah, I've got statues. Yeah, absolutely. I'm not like, maybe in the way you're framing it, like some people in their backgrounds, like you can see statues, like it's primarily statues or something, you know what I mean? And I know what you're talking about. Some people like kind of go heavy on statues. I have them, not a ton, obviously. I think the only one you can see is the Nathan Drake right there and the Chimera from Resistance 2, that one from Uncharted 3, the special edition. I bought a Kawakami statue from Persona 5 not that long ago. I have the Ellie with a bow statue from The Last of Us Part 2. I've also got in the cabinet there all the Egyptian gods, and those things are huge. I've got my Jack gaming head statues. I'm sure you've seen these. I've got them, you know, but for me, it's like they take up a lot of space. So I was always mindful of not like getting down that rabbit hole the way that you're implying, because you need a lot of space. I mean, this is a fairly big room, and I've dedicated damn near 2 walls of it to games. And the games are relatively small when we're comparing them to, say, a statue. So I'm just mindful of space. I don't want to get like super heavy on the statue thing, you know? But thank you for your question. Beth Graham says, hi, Ryan. I just got tickets to the Death Stranding concert. Have you ever been to any video game related events, concerts, conventions, meet and greets? Yeah, I've done conventions and meet and greets and things like that. Concerts, though, here's the thing. Not really a concert person. In fact, I think I can confidently say this. I've never really been to a concert. That might sound batshit insane to some people, like I just am terminally online and don't leave the house. I can assure you I try to have a life outside of these 4 walls. I love traveling. I love being out. I love nature, and I love all that stuff. Concerts, though, really is something I just never did. I just never went to concerts, like almost ever. So actually, the Death Stranding concert might be my first one, because I think I am going to go to that. So it's nice to always change things every so often. But concert-wise, yeah, I guess I'm sheltered. I don't know. You tell me if that's weird. Faaris Fowzi says, hey Ryan, hope you're doing good. And if you can't pronounce my name, I just ruined it. Just say it like this. Faaris. It means night in Arabic. Oh, okay. Well, now I know. I hate looking like a dummy. You know how uppity I get about these things. I want to respect all of you with the utmost respect. Also, I'm part Arabic, so I just completely goofed that. But in the grand scheme of things, I'm like, I'm basically a goddamn white Caucasian man, but my dad's Arabic. So getting into your question, my God, this is getting off to a crazy tangent. Since this is my first Q&A, I would like to ask you, oh yeah, did I invite you to you've never been in the Q&A? That's what it was, right? I said, make sure you ask a question. Since this is my first Q&A, I would like to ask you 2 questions. One, I've been watching your channel for almost 6 years now, and I just want to say that I'm genuinely fascinated by your knowledge of Sony's business and its history. The amount I've learned from you is incredible, and I've even shared that knowledge with my brothers and friends. I've often thought that you deserve to be recognized by the people within the gaming industry, especially at Sony. I know you've mentioned a few times that you don't mind not getting recognition from Sony or anyone else, but honestly, I think you should. It's frustrating to see them send products for review to people who don't seem to deserve it, while you consistently do an excellent job of reviewing PlayStation products. Whenever I see YouTubers or journalists getting recognition and interviews with industry leaders or Sony executives, I can't help but think it should have been you. For example, when Shuhei Yoshida was doing interviews all over the place, I kept thinking how amazing it would have been if you had interviewed him. I know you've mentioned that you're comfortable with being independent and not getting recognition from Sony or anyone else, but I can't help but feel that you deserve it. What motivates you to keep creating such high quality content despite that? And do you ever see yourself collaborating with Sony if the opportunity felt right? 2, Sony has had a lot of canceled or unreleased projects over the years. Is there one that you wish had actually come out? Okay, so the first question, I guess it depends on how you look at it. I do appreciate the way you're framing it. I do. That genuinely means a lot. for me to, I guess, earn this rank in your eyes of like, I should be the one that gets that access to their products and staff and things like that. What I can say is that a lot of it does fall into the sort of networking that typically has to take place. I mean, the thing I initially wanted to do before starting this channel was get in that more traditional media space. My origin story has always been like, before YouTube, I did want to work in games, and that would have been your legacy media, like your GameSpot, IGN, Game Informer, whatever sort of place you want to mention. I wanted to get in that industry. And when you got into that industry where you were employed, and this was also when E3 was super relevant, so you would get flown out to these events, you'd have a press badge, and you would be like, that would be the job, is interviewing and going behind closed doors and doing demos. And when you're in that environment, you're face to face with these people. You build connections, you build long time rapport. And so that's why, like, for example, like, Greg Miller is a YouTuber now. He's got his own YouTube channel, Kind of Funny Games, and that's what that company is. And like, if you look at just on pay-per-views, I easily exceed Kind of Funny Games, but they get access because they've just built those relationships. He knows people personally at, say, Sony or other big publishers, or he's just been in the business a really long time. Same with Easy Allies or any other sort of media channel that came from legacy media. And then some of the other channels that, let's say, they didn't come from legacy media, I think a lot of what's at play there is simply that they're very big. So let's say you're Marcus Brownlee, as an example, right? They've got very big numbers. They're also just very agnostic in the sense that, like, we are very niche, very particular about PlayStation and its business. And that also means I cover a lot of things maybe Sony doesn't want to be covered. And we're talking about, leaks and material that maybe shouldn't have gotten out. And we'll talk about custom firmware. And I'm more than certain, like, I'm the kind of person that, maybe they don't want to work with because of those things. I had to guess. In fairness, I don't try anymore. It's actually been quite a while since I've reached out to them to see if I can get product access. Because here's the thing too. I don't know if it's because the word you're using here, recognition, I don't necessarily need to be recognized. That would just be a typical relationship of, I'm, a place of covering products, provide they only provide review products, and it's not really some sort of formal collaboration, right? And I would never want to do that, because that is a breach of integrity, right? I only cover PlayStation, and all of a sudden I'm partnering with them. That doesn't really look right. So I would hope what you mean is that, why don't they send review product over? And I think it's just because on the PR side, I'm either blacklisted, or for one reason or another, they just don't want to provide product to me. They'd rather provide it to some of your bigger names or those from legacy media that have built that rapport over time. That the issue is, I've never met a lot of these people. On the flip side, like, here's what I'm okay with and what I really appreciate. It's PR. Public relation are usually the ones that, you have to get through them to get product. But I know people at Sony. I know people at Sony corporate. I know them at their London headquarters. I know a lot of people at the separate studios, whether from the social media team or programmers or art. Like, I know a lot of people at Sony. And I'm sure there are some that don't like me, but most of them I've met, they like me. They're very nice to me. They're kind, hardworking people. So I've always appreciated that aspect. Like, I have that recognition, as you're implying, from Sony, but it just comes from a person by person basis. The PR side, that's the issue. There's hurdles there, and to me, I've always felt like, if I don't get product, I guess it's still a win, because then it doesn't look a certain way. If I did get consoles early, maybe it looks a certain way because I only cover PlayStation, and there's a stigma that comes with that. So at least it's always been great to say, after 10 something years, I have never been given anything early, and I'm not being bought out, if that's an accusation that people want to make. Not to say that anybody is making that accusation, but I can at least say that's not happening. You know what I mean? Although, obviously, I think if they would give me products early just for review purposes, I wouldn't mind that, because it's like a lot of money when you're able to review things comfortably on time and release the video by embargo. When you're there on embargo, or doing interviews and you've got a really big scoop. I mean, when you have those things, it really does help your numbers. And I get paid pretty much 90% from just basic ad revenue. I need views. Views help, and that's what makes me money. So in a way, they do cost me, like, I'm not lying, probably tens of thousands over the years from, you know, being late to reviewing PS5 Pro or the PS5 Slim or the Portal, because I have to buy them day one and then review after. So that definitely always stings a little bit, but I'm not necessarily slighted or anything, because I think what's really amazing is I'm still able to be an excellent resource, even though I'm getting it like later. It's always like, as far as the slight ego boost that I'm getting here, because I really appreciate your comment, the one thing that's always been really awesome is, like, by the time I do a review, I do see the commentary of, thank you for finally covering these topics, because everybody else that had these things for weeks ago, they didn't look into it, or they didn't answer this thing, or they had all this time to review it, and the best one came out 2-3 days after the product came out or something. You know what I mean? That always helps keeps me going, believe me. But I would hope that gives you an answer to that, because that is something I've mentioned before, but that's just like the sticky issue of it. You need PR relations, you need networking. I've just never been able, I don't want to say never been able to, I've never done those things. You usually have to go and see and meet these people face to face for those relationships to be built, and maybe for them to realize that I am like kind of an agreeable source that's not like a problem. The PR side might see me as like problematic or something. I don't know. I really don't know, because I don't know the people on that side of the business. I know pretty much everybody else. I know you'll be surprised at the people I know at Sony, and they're very kind and awesome, but they're not the ones responsible for review product, and that's just the way it is. But thank you for your question. Boy, oh boy, we spent a lot of time on that one, mostly because I was also an idiot earlier. Victor Perez says, sup, what it do, my home G dog? Hope you've been dashingly cracking. My God, what an opener. My question is, do you ever log in on your PS5 to appear offline? I was just kind of curious. I'm thinking if you ever just want to play a single player game and you don't want to interact with your friends on PSN, this feature comes in handy in appearing offline. Not to say that you would ever ignore us when you're logged in on PSN and are playing video games. And he adds some emojis. I don't know if you're saying that because you know I appear offline, but I guess I will just answer this for those that have, if you've sent me a PSN message, I'll tell you right now, because my ID is a public figure, because I am a public figure, it like just gets attention. And I, at a certain point, I checked out. I was over it. So it is one of those things where I would say for years now at this point, all notifications are off. I don't see anything people send me. No game invitations, no party invitations, no messages. My game base is always blue. I know things are in there, but I can't work through all that stuff. I simply can't. And I have appeared offline for over a year now at this point. So I apologize. I used to be very good with it. I used to take pride in being able to respond to everybody on PSN, because it was always cool when I would respond and they would respond back. I can't believe you said something. It's like, oh, yeah, of course. I have no problem talking to people, but it's just like, at a certain point, you can't, like, it would take over an hour to respond to everybody, and it would pile back up. So I apologize, Victor, as I think you that's what you were getting at. But yes, I've been doing that for quite a while now. Stealing Terror Zero says, hi Ryan, hope 2025 is treating you well so far. I wanted to ask, have you ever wanted to take a break from trophies, whether you got bored of them or you felt they restricted the games you played? I've started to slow down myself and realized I was skipping on many games just because I didn't want to go for the platinum. I've now started to play games for the fun aspect, and not worrying about completion rate or my platinum count. It's helped a lot, and I'm wondering if anyone else has felt the same. If anyone reading this wants to reply with their experience, feel free to. And then we do have a response where I'm going to read it again. Faaris responded. Here's the thing. When I say ris like that, that's like a Japanese way to pronounce it, which I know is incorrect, but Faaris says, I'm in the same boat as you. I felt not enjoying games or skipping, like you said, but lately I have decided to just play the games that I can't plat on my second channel, or limit platting games. It's so much fun now, like the good old days. Stealing Terror. I've been doing that for a while. years. I kind of have always been, I don't want to say done with trophies, but it used to be like in the PS3 days, everything I played, I would try to platinum or get 100%. Dude, I think since PS4, basically, like mid PS4 cycle, that it was over for me. I still like, I like doing it, but my habit is absolutely, I do not like go for everything. If I feel like I'm not going to platinum a game, I just play it on a different profile. So that's how I deal with it. And if it's a game that I want to do, then I play it on main. So that's my way of cheesing my own numbers there, right? Really pumping up and cooking the book, so to speak. But I would always recommend to just, do that. Don't feel pressured to go into to always do trophies or avoid certain games, or you definitely don't want that to be a recurring habit. So I've always approached it like that for a very long time now at this point, which also kind of just gets into life. Like I even if I wanted to, I couldn't do that shit anymore. I just don't have the time or patience for it anymore. Kris Taylor says, "Hi Ryan, just recently bought Death Stranding Director's Cut. Why do you believe it's worth playing? Personally, it looks like a complicated postman simulator, but as it's a Kojima game, I want to give it a shot, give it a go and finish it. Still love the content after all these years. Cheers." Chris, thank you so much. I appreciate it. As for Death Stranding, did you already start it? Because this was 2 weeks ago now at this point. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. It is one of those things where you can always boil it down to, as you say, complicated postman simulator, but not to be rude, but like it's like the Joker meme of like taking a drag off the cigarette, like you just wouldn't get it. You have to just play it, give it a shot. And here's the thing, that's not to make the insinuation that, let's say you played it and you still think it's a complicated postman simulator, just wasn't for you. I think it is a game that very weirdly just has a gameplay loop that is very entrancing and sometimes very, what's the word I'm looking for? There's a fucking word. I can't think of what it is, but it's just, it's almost poetic in a way, because the game has these highs that when the music kicks in and you're about to finish the delivery. And I don't know, it's one of those weird games where I think it's actually kind of hard to explain, or at least I'm not doing a very good job of putting it into words. What I can say for me, like when I first played the game, I think after like an hour, I was coming to this realization of, oh no, I don't think I like it. Like I wasn't really getting it, but you just stick with it for a little bit longer. And I don't know, it starts to click, and then you really enjoy, the management of the packages, going for the best route, getting resources to build out a road and a network. And then it's always cool when you find a ladder that somebody else placed there, or seeing an obstacle and you don't have the materials for that ladder, so you look around to find a ladder, and sure enough you do. And then you get in the habit of like hitting the touchpad for anybody that puts up like a thumbs up, and you hear the keep on keeping on slogan drop in. And it's just a game that kind of fires on cylinders in a very against the grain sort of way. And so you just have to try it and see if you vibe with the experience. And if you don't, that is also totally okay. Not every game is for everybody. Anonymous Patreon says, "Are you thinking about getting more help when making videos, or do you plan on staying a one-man crew for a little while longer? Would you recommend getting an 8TB international M.2 SSD with GTA 6 clocking in at 750 gigabytes? You stay classy." Well, we don't know how big GTA 6 is going to be, but it's probably going to be a very large game. If anything, Call of Duty's your problem there. If you're installing Call of Duty, that's going to be a pretty big problem. But I find it really hard to recommend installing 8 terabytes, because that is an obscene amount of money. The longer you're patient, the price per gigabyte comes way down. The example I always use is like, I don't know, what was it? Like 2 terabytes was $250. Now 2 terabytes is like less than $100. It's obscene to pay more than, or to get more than 4 terabytes, I think. Just install what you can and just manage files until the price comes down. Unless you got it like that, then go for the 8 terabyte. But I find it very hard to recommend that. But as for video help, I have considered finally getting help for like one category of videos I would like to film, and maybe just like throw that off to somebody else. And that's the way I can end up doing that series. But like the thing I always come back to is like labor is expensive. Not to say I don't want to pay somebody for good work, but like when you are a one-man show and you have responsibility, well, rather when you have responsibilities, when you pay for your living, I also take care of my mother. You know, there's only so much I can sort of reinvest back into the channel. Like the channel is established. I've got a good workflow. And for now, I have to keep maintaining that the way that it is just to sort of live comfortably enough and responsibly enough before I consider bringing on help. But I would like to at a certain point. I just don't know if that's going to happen anytime soon. Lewis Robbins says, "Hey Ryan, these are two questions, but they sort of align. I'm wondering which Atlas game you have played and if you will eventually play Metaphor ReFantasio, my personal game of the year. Much love from England." Thank you so much, and love from the U.S. as well. I'd love to go there. I've never actually heard of where you're from, so I don't even know if I'm going to pronounce it right. That's why I skipped over it, but I've never heard of this located. Where is it located? I'm going to look it up right now, actually. Maybe this is showing my ass here where I don't know where things are in England. Where is it located comparable to? Okay. Huh. Now I'm just I'm getting off I'm like way off tangent here. Let me know how you pronounce that area. Looks like a pretty big town. No, I'm just looking at restaurants. Okay, back to your question. Which Atlas games have you? I played a lot of Atlas games, and will I eventually play Metaphor? Yes. That's just like the issue of not having time to play those games. Metaphor does look, the vibe I get from Metaphor is that like the art style with a lot of Atlas games is just so unique and it really stands out. I think in a lineup of games from last year, it really does sort of make a name for itself, but I've not been able to set aside time to play that particular game, which is not fun, but I've played a very good portion of Atlas games. DangerZone says, "Ryan, hope all is going swell in life. Was wondering if you had a favorite era of PlayStation marketing, commercials, advertisements, store kiosks, etc. Maybe any memories you have growing up with any that really stuck out to you. I personally love the Kevin Butler era and those classic PSP get your own ads. You take it easy from DangerZone. You take it easy." Now, it's a good question. I almost feel like you know the answer. It's obviously early PS3 era, which is the White Room commercials, the sort of Stanley Kubrick approach of this very abstract white room, the PS3 floating, and it just, levitating a Rubik's Cube and blowing it up, and 6-axis motion, rotating eggs across the room and then slamming them into the side, and then crows come out. It's so fucking weird. I love it. Obviously, the baby that was crying, and you see like Resistance gameplay in its eyes. It's like, what the fuck were these people doing? Now that's in North America too, by the way. That was only North America. Early PS3, by the time it went to Europe, was the This Is Living campaign, which was also very weird. This Is Living, I think, didn't even really have a sort of like direct sort of, I guess, identity, because the This Is Living campaign had like a lot of different ways they approached it as far as the sheer marketing materials. But here in the US, we had the Play Beyond campaign is maybe the better way that people know it. They had a website too, which was like this full interactive, I think it was like Java based or something, but you can mess around with that. The store kiosks were also amazing. And that's my core memory. Was the first time I ever got to see and play a PlayStation 3 was at a Target kiosk before launch. It was MotorStorm. And MotorStorm was the first PS3 game I ever laid my eyes on in person and was able to play, and seeing the game 720p HD, and it looked incredible. There's so much nostalgia for the PS3 era. It was just amazing. But you make some good call outs there with the KB era and the PSP Get Your Own ad campaign as well. Lachlan says, "Hey Ryan, what are your thoughts on the Switch 2? And also, what was your hardest platinum to get?" Hardest platinum I usually say is GTA 4. It was an absolute pain in the ass to get. It was just a number of things. Single player, obviously, is going to take a lot of time, but it's the online where you have to reach the last online rank, which took a very long time. We're talking years, and a lot of that was just letting the game sit for a very long time until an exploit came out to where you can actually farm money and get to rank 10 reliably. And so there was that. Also, the various aspects of like I forget the game modes, but usually it was co-op based as well. So you had to like really coordinate with other people to earn the remaining bronze trophies, and it was just an absolute pain in the ass. And then what are my thoughts on Switch 2? It's more Nintendo. It's more Switch. I think they're playing it safe. They're being very conservative, which is, sort of atypical for Nintendo since they always do tend to have a shtick ever since the Wii generation. But Switch 2 is very conservative, and I think that's the right play. I'm actually filming this right before we see the Nintendo Direct where they're going to show software finally for Switch 2. So I can't quite add more to that outside of it looks very conservative, but I'm sure we'll still have some Nintendo flavor baked in once we see that software tomorrow. Tyler Brown says, hey Ryan, apologies if this has been asked recently, but I just signed up for your Patreon, so I am brand new. Out of all your platinum trophies, which are you the most proud of? Also, do you have a dream platinum trophy, one that is considered to be a tough one, Super Meat Boy as an example? Tyler, great question. I did basically just answer that, so if you're skipping to the timestamp, I hate to say like scoop back a little bit, but I will preface this or at least re-answer again with GTA 4. Grand Theft Auto 4 was a nightmare to platinum, and it's one that I wear that badge of honor very closely to me. So I still look back and I think, man, there's just no way I was going to fucking do that game again. Like if somebody wanted me to do it again, I would be like, nah, it's just not happening. And then Dream Platinum, no, I don't think I have a Dream Platinum. Like, you use Super Meat Boy as an example. I know that's an extreme example, because that game would be fucking nuts to do. But, no, I don't think there's like a dream one. I mean, there's ones I would love to get to, and I just haven't because of time. But I don't think there's one that I've looked at and thought, like, I'd love to do that, but it's too tough and I'm not going to do it. I don't think I've ever had that mentality. I do tend to, like, look at stuff and go, I'm going to tackle that one if I really want to do it. But thank you for being here on Patreon. Really appreciate you supporting. It means a lot to me. Ben, hey Ryan, have you ever thought about making other kind of YouTube videos outside of PlayStation? If so, what was it? Also, what do you think of Days Gone Remastered not getting a disc, and do you think more PlayStation games will follow? Yeah, the Days Gone thing is weird because outside of Horizon Call of the Mountain, which was a PlayStation Studios PSVR title, that and also Firewall Ultra, we can see they made the conscious choice of PSVR 2 games we are not printing on disc. But SIE has been, I would say, very committed to physical software, especially because we know from the Insomniac breach and just some preliminary data from even a game as recent as Astrobot that PlayStation Studio games do tend to lean very physical, where it's actually still about 50-50 nowadays. So half their sales are physical, which means will more games follow? No, because PlayStation knows in the here and now, even on PS5 in 2025, they sell a lot of physical discs. As for Days Gone, that is a little bit puzzling. I think if only because it's a matter of the game does have an upgrade path. So in the eyes of Sony, maybe it just didn't seem worth it when they know there is a PS4 disc out there. So that would still be internet dependent if you wanted to insert that into a PS5 to download the digital PS5 version. But the only sort of roundabout way I can think of is maybe that's the conclusion they came to, is that there wasn't enough there for that particular property to print a disc for it, for a PS5 native version. But I hope maybe they do end up doing it down the road. I do know, like Destruction All-Stars, when that game came out, it was digital only, but shortly after it got a disc print. So maybe it will eventually get a disc, but I think that's kind of what's going on there. And then other kind of YouTube videos, a long time ago, long time ago, I always said I wanted to do like a vlog channel, just to, have it sort of an open diary and maybe ideas or things I'd love to go out and do and film. And I realized a long time ago, one, I don't have the the confidence for that, which is taking a camera outside of these four walls. That I realized very quickly, I'm just too socially awkward and I get anxiety, and I don't think I could ever really do that comfortably. And also, I don't have the time. This channel eats up the vast majority of my time. So, no, I don't think I will ever do that, to be honest. But I did consider it at one point. madvillainylover, what's up, Ryan? Recently, I've been interested in getting into Yu-Gi-Oh!, but I have no clue where to start. I have Master Duel, and I've been starting to play that a little bit, but is there anything else I should do or watch to become more invested? Would you also consider doing Yu-Gi-Oh side content on a separate channel? Love your uploads. They're always the highlight of my Tuesday. Keep up the dope work. Thank you so much, madvillainylover. I appreciate you always being here and submitting some dope questions. And I love this one because your boy just went through this, which was coming back to the game 20 years later. Always enjoy, like always being a Yu-Gi-Oh fan, you know, through the years, but, you know, I only recently really got back into it, which that was, you know, from a friend. You know, Terrell, he, for some reason, got back into it. And I always ask him, like, so why did you? He never has an answer for me. He's just like, get cards again. So I got cards again, and we started playing together. That was my initial gateway, was having somebody locally, and we were playing paper Yu-Gi-Oh! So it's, I think for some people nowadays, they are coming back via Master Duel. And that wasn't necessarily how I got back into it. But I did start watching other channels. So that would be like your MBT, your CMO, Farfa, Ruxin for pack openings, because I like paper Yu-Gi-Oh! So I watch Ruxin a lot because it's also been very knowledgeable to look at prior sets and past sets and see what the cards were back then. And sometimes I like watching CMO or MBT or whoever that keeps a little bit more up with the meta, or Paul from Team APS as well. They're a little bit more casual for that kind of content, but you know, it's like a mix of everybody to sort of learn prior sets, also learn the meta right now, learn about historical metas, and that's sort of what I've been doing. But side channel, no, definitely not. I mean, for me, it's like, it's been great having a hobby that I'm not monetizing. Even if it's a very casual, I'll only upload a video once every 2 months. I just don't want it to turn into something that, you know, I feel like I have to film something. It's really fun having a hobby, and it feels like a complete hobby to me. Whereas, not to say like I've ruined games for me, but, you know, there is a side of that comes into play with PlayStation stuff. So Yu-Gi-Oh is going to be sacred for me, and I'm keeping it close to my chest. But that's how I, you know, really got back into the game. And I encourage you to maybe do that as well if you've got somebody local that would want to play paper Yu-Gi-Oh again. Paul Andrei says, hey Ryan, first of all, thanks for all your work. In Romania, LTPS comes out on Friday at around 4 to 5 p.m., and it's my favorite way to start the weekend after work. My question is, can you recommend any Xbox or Nintendo-centric channels like yours? I've seen some Xbox ones, but are way too clickbaity and sensationalist, like how it's game over for PlayStation, Xbox is finally winning. The Nintendo ones almost never discuss the bad side of Nintendo and are just trying to hype the people on how nice Nintendo games are, which they are, but Nintendo is not perfect, and they are not saying anything about it. Here's the weird thing. I don't watch a whole lot of other gaming content per se. I don't know how, I don't, that's not like a bad, I don't want to say that's a bad thing. I would never want to talk badly about peers or anything like that. In fact, I think there is a lot of good work out there. I just don't spend enough time watching others in the sense that I could, I guess, safely give you the recommendations you're looking for if you are asking for things that are distinctly like LTPS. Because to be honest, I don't know if there is anything quite like LTPS for the other channels. I mean, I know what you're getting at as far as like the Xbox ones can be very sensationalist, and yeah, I'll say that. I don't want to name names or anything, but I know there's some bad shit out there. And Nintendo stuff I see we were getting at. I don't know if there's really any that are sort of in the same scope of how I'm approaching it. But, you know, it's like John with Spawn Wave, where he's more generalized and covers all aspects of the business. You know, he does great work. I know Sean from RGT85, like he's very brash, and he has no problem calling stuff out from all three companies. But again, he's a little bit more broad. So I haven't seen enough channels to, I guess, find others that are doing the work that I do. So I don't know if they're out there, but I know what you're getting at. It's just, I'm not sure if I really have great recommendations for you. I just don't have time to watch like other gaming content. If I'm being totally honest, I just kind of digest it all myself. And for the PlayStation side, that's what I spit out for LTPS. But I do appreciate that you watch every Friday. It comes out 4 or 5 p.m. And I'm glad I'm always a part of your weekly habit in Romania. It's always very humbling. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for supporting here as well, Paul. It means a lot. Sam Brown, hi Ryan. Hope all is well and thanks as ever for all the great content. Non-PlayStation related question: any thoughts on the Switch 2 after its reveal? Any games you would like to see at the April Direct, and will you be getting one at launch? So similar to what I said before, for me right now, Switch 2, and I'm filming this right before the Direct, so I know this is like not great timing wise because we'll see the software very soon. In the here and now, what I think about Switch 2 is very conservative, which is a little bit unlike Nintendo in the sense that they've been very, they have this DNA as far as designing hardware where they always have some shtick to the hardware. And I know people throw around the word gimmick. I don't think they're gimmicks in the sense that Nintendo, I think, cares deeply about the experiences they try to make and foster with game developers. And that really began with like the Wii and DS, they're never gimmicks, but there always is a lean to it, which is the touchscreen, the two screens, Joy-Cons, the Wii U gamepad. They make what I feel are genuine efforts, and the Switch 2 reads to me as very conservative and by the books. I know there's like the sort of aspect of, you could potentially use a mouse with this thing, right? And that is the sort of Nintendo DNA I was getting at. So it'll be really cool to see more about that and have the context of what exactly is this thing going to do beyond looking like just a better Switch. But it's still all around, I think, is very indicative of this is unlike Nintendo in that this looks damn near like just another Switch. It's called Switch 2, which is them also letting consumers know this is new hardware. It's still a Switch, but it's new hardware, and we have to make that distinction. So that's sort of where I'm setting on it, and I'd love to get one at launch. I don't know. It does sound like they're making a damn near like multi-millions of these things and getting them ready for launch. So I am cautiously optimistic that we may be walking into a new console cycle that is not going to be supply constrained, which would be great because I think there's going to be a lot of demand, but it will be truly impressive if we can see a pre-order like cycle open and it's like not hard to get one. So I'll try. If it is too hard, I don't mind missing it initially. I do love I love when new consoles start. It's like I live for this shit. So it's always fun to see the new cycle and get new hardware and pick it up day one and play all the new games. I don't have as much time, so if I miss it, I'm actually kind of okay with that, and I'll get one whenever I get one. Actually, Switch, I did miss that launch back in 2017. I got one, I think, 5-6 months after launch, so it is something where I'll be okay with it if I don't get one right away. Next up is Andreas. What's your favorite, mostly well-known, mostly unknown feature of the PS3? Mine was ripping CDs to the hard drive, then on USB stick, and all was legally okay. That is awesome. I loved ripping CDs to it. That was something I did right away in 2006. I ripped a bunch of my music to the PS3, but I always thought it was super goofy that it can print. You can connect a printer to it and print things off of it, which is so stupid. But that's why I did a whole video on it. I'm like, I want to just like, no bullshit, spend 8 to 10 minutes setting up a printer, finding an old one off eBay that's compatible, and print something off it. And we did some joke prints. And so, I don't know if you've seen that video, but I always thought like that was just like the silliest thing. Because in a way, it is mostly unknown in the sense that like it's in settings, and it's not like tucked away in settings. If you're ever on the XMB looking at settings and you scroll down, you have to actively scroll past printer settings in very pertinent items. Like you will see it, but I think most people look at it and they just don't think about it at all. And you tell people you can connect a printer to it, and they go, "What?" Yeah, you can. And I thought that was insane. EmziysLV. Does that stand for Las Vegas? Hey Ryan, with the current craze of handhelds, emulation, and first party, do you think that Sony is missing the boat and can be left behind on potential revenue stream? Myself, seeing how successful Switch, Steam Deck, and other system handhelds are, I really wish we could get third or fourth, depending on how you look at it, generation of Sony handheld and play first party games on stream remote play our PS4, PS5 library. Thanks for your time, and I wish you well. Well, here's the thing. We are getting a PlayStation handheld, probably by 2027, 2028. It really depends. But all signs are pointing to Sony building an SoC right now, which will be for a more traditional PlayStation handheld. Not traditional in the sense that it's got its own bespoke system architecture and it needs its own games designed for it, and therefore you buy separate PlayStation handheld games for it at retail and via download. It would be a primarily digital device that downloads PS4, 5, and 6 software, which would need patches for 5 and 6 software, I would certainly expect. But missing the boat, I mean, they're working on it because they are sort of, the handheld cycle, or rather the handheld market has been reinvigorated by Nintendo. Although I want to clarify this. When you look at portable PCs, they're like, I think they get a lot of credit here, but it's like they're really low volume. I mean, really low volume. They still, as far as we know, have only sold, Valve has only sold, I think, 4 million-ish Steam Decks. That is not a lot at all. And I think the other manufacturers are like less than a million. So it may seem like there's this craze, but it's really more niche than you think. That's why, Nintendo acknowledge that problem with the Switch, and that you can play it on the TV, and for like we've had metrics, which is like nearly half of that install base either prefers handheld or they prefer the TV. So when you think about it in that sense, like, yeah, they've moved over 100 million Switches. That's still like 50 million or so users that are playing handheld, and that is a year-over-year decline from, say, lifetime sales of 3DS, which was 77 million or somewhere in that ballpark, and that was down half from the DS. So the point I'm trying to get at here is that, there is a market that is sort of going back up with handhelds, but not quite to the degree that fosters this separate environment. So you are going to get a PlayStation handheld, and that's sort of why the Portal exists right now, because you can use that to stream and remote play. Actually, as you're saying right now, you can stream and remote play on the Portal. But if you're talking about local play, then we do have to wait a little bit longer for. I'm flubbering all over my words right now. You're gonna have to wait a little bit longer for that more traditional handheld that has local play. It is coming, I think, but it's going to be quite a bit. And maybe by the time it does come out, the handheld market will be even bigger than it is right now. But portable PCs are definitely a bit more niche than some think. Jordan D03 says, "Hey Ryan, do you still have the cat poster that was that was on your ceiling from the room tour video you did 9ish years ago? Also, have you pulled some good heat out of Yu-Gi-Oh! TCG if you are still buying?" Oh, son, of course I'm still pulling some heat. I mean, I showed you in the most recent collection update, so I'm not sure if you saw that. I do have it right here, though, which is the movie pack. Dark Magician Girl, QCR, very sexy. I've also got the Blue Eyes Ultimate that I didn't pull, but I had to buy that. QCR, I love that art. In fact, if I do this right here, those are like all Blue Eyes Ultimate cards, and there's like one Ghost Rare relinquished from Japan, and I had a Starlight Yatagarasu that I pulled from that one Battles of Legends set, but I bought that booster box like a few months back now at this point. But I bought a case of Quarter Century Bonanza, so you get like 6 QCRs a box, so I got a ton of QCRs and good pulls out of that. And I will be getting a case of Stampede as well, so I'm hoping for some good things out of that nostalgia slot, but absolutely still pulling from Yu-Gi-Oh! And the cat poster, I'm pretty sure I threw that out. A lot of those posters, I think they are gone. I might have folded them up and put them somewhere, but I don't know why, because it's like I'm never going to put them back up. When you get to a point where you're like old enough to appreciate posters that are like rolled and not folded, and you want to frame them, not to say like, there's anything wrong with having the sort of bedroom folded posters on walls kind of vibe, but it's like I definitely grew out of that, and I don't want shit like that on the walls anymore. So I don't think I have the cat poster, which, yes, was on the ceiling, which is kind of, that was the joke, is that when I go to bed, I see a cat saying, "I love you" to me. Maybe I should do that again, because quite frankly, I need that reassurance at night. I got to put a cat on my ceiling. Actually, that's not fair. Melissa gives me plenty of love, as long as I give her wet food. Thank you for that ridiculous question. Andrew Burns, your most recent video got me thinking about the first time about what Microsoft could conceivably do to try to compete against PlayStation Next Gen. A lot of the talk has been about them essentially getting out of hardware, but this rumored PC-like concept has got me thinking that if they did a true partnership with Valve and had a box that could connect to the TV like a standard console and also connect a monitor and operate as a desktop with full Steam support and ideally the ability to access other storefronts, that could really be compelling for a lot of people. I think they have a bigger opening that many may think, considering the unhappiness many have had with PS5 justified or not, and I think the first console to open up the hardware to multiple storefronts may have a big advantage. What do you think about this hypothesis? Yes, it is a fascinating conversation. It's one we've gotten into a little bit on ClickR3 and LTPS. It's a big play. It's a risky play too, I would imagine. The thing is, like, if they build a box, and it sounds like they are, where it's basically a hybrid Windows machine in a way, so it's using Windows operating system, and it would be very console friendly, but it's, you know, also maybe this dev environment that's, like, they're not using off-the-shelf PC parts. It would be still very bespoke, but if it's, you know, not, like, something where Microsoft is carefully looking, like, collaborating with AMD on their hardware roadmap, and they're making this sort of architecture that leans heavily into the Xbox platform. And, you know, it sounds like they, vendor wise, maybe they're not making a box that's going to be that price friendly, if that makes sense. You know, like, maybe they're, like, kind of just okay with being a low volume box, which in theory then implies they're not expecting to move millions and millions and have this massive install base. You know what you know what I'm getting at? Like, because they've already sort of given up as far as, like, where Series S and X is right now. They're still going to do hardware, but, like, how committed are they to the traditional console model of loss leading? Like, that's what consoles historically have always been. They lose money, and you make that back on software and accessories and, you know, controllers and an Xbox Live membership. And so it's like, are they gonna do that? Because the expectation is that you don't sell a lot of hardware nowadays. So as far as, like, what that means for, well, before I even get to that part of the conversation, that also is the weird play. I mean, I guess it would be a partnership, a formal partnership with Valve, because it has to make sense for them. If they just let this thing be a Windows box that, you know, in theory you can break out of the Xbox portion of that whatever the OS looks like. You know, if you can break out of that standard Windows Xbox console friendly OS and just have baseline desktop Windows and install other storefronts, you know, that, like, what's the play there if you're not looking to move a lot of software, because that's going to cannibalize your own storefront. You're going to cannibalize the opportunity to make money on your hardware if you're trying to loss lead. Like, there's so many unanswered questions as far as what that next box looks like. So it's a very weird, risky play where I'm not sure what the end game really is, if it will allow you to put other storefronts on there. You know what I mean? It's kind of crazy when you think about it. And I don't know if it's, you know, if it's something, I mean, PlayStation should always be concerned with what any other close competitor is doing. Because the thing I always like to say is that, yeah, they compete with Xbox closely, Nintendo somewhat closely, but in the grand scheme of things, they compete with your time. So if you're not spending your time on PlayStation, that's a problem to them. So I don't want to say they shouldn't be concerned with what Microsoft is trying to do, but if Microsoft is doing this, you know, low volume box, it's like, maybe they still kind of feel okay with that approach. I don't know. Right? Like, what's this thing going to be priced at? Will it still have a console price tag? Will it be a console that in theory can do volume and move customers away from PlayStation? I don't know. It's crazy. I think we need a lot more before we start, like, having conclusions as far as where that could go, because there's so many unknowns as far as what it could look like. But great question, Andrew, for sure. I'm absolutely wondering that too. Young Ragoo says, aside from being a fan of physical media and a lifelong PS fan, how much value do you personally see in the prospect of the PS6, seeing as how this console generation doesn't seem to have reached its full potential? I was active duty in the console wars for over 20 years, but I'm happy to see Sony and Microsoft embrace a multi-platform strategy, and I think the PS6 value proposition will be so niche that it will basically push people to alternatives like a second generation Steam Deck or just sticking with their PS5s. Well, so we got into this a little bit in an earlier question, but I think we put way too much stock in Steam Deck. Valve has only sold like 4 million of those. That's not a lot. It's not even remotely a lot. It's super niche. And to make this comparable of people moving away from a traditional console like a PS5 or a PS6 to the Steam Deck, I don't see it. The numbers aren't there. There's basically zero indications of that even happening at all. And by proxy of the Steam Deck, we know Sony is intending on offering a PlayStation portable like device that will offer local play. And if anything, that's going to be more of an extension device in a sense, which is, keeping people invested into that ecosystem, which is what Sony is really zeroed in on right now. So the thing you have to remember is that we are very deep into a platform that has fostered a lot of long-term customer loyalty. And in a way, you're sort of locked into I don't want to say locked into the ecosystem. You can obviously leave and do whatever you want. But we're talking about millions of PlayStation users that have PSN accounts from PlayStation 3, really PS4 foundationally, if we're talking about a lot of software that is tied to your ID and is playable on future console cycles. But, people have been buying on the PlayStation Store for a long time. You have a $1,000 investment into PlayStation, and that's going to live on in PlayStation 6. You've got an instant game collection from PS Plus if you've been a member for a long time and you're always claiming games. It's like, it's going to be, I would actually argue very hard to get those people to leave PlayStation at this point. There will always be a console audience. And right now, PlayStation has a very clear runway when you look at how down bad Microsoft is. I mean, we are in this, as you imply, we're in this marketplace where there's a lot of pressure on certain properties to deliver and see a return. And that's why you see Sony, who has always been very conservative, experiment with a Lego Horizon on the Switch or these older properties where they're licensing them out. But that's just because, you're never going to see a Patapon sequel only on PlayStation ever again. Those games just need to make more money than they used to. So yeah, it's a different landscape, no doubt, but we are in a position of there's still a console audience, and conceivably Sony has a very big share now, and they've got an unchecked share in a way because all these people are just invested in PlayStation. And sure, maybe let's say there's no reason to buy a PlayStation 6 right away. Those users will eventually buy a PlayStation 6. We'll have to wait and see, obviously, what Sony's transitionary plan will be as far as trying to move people off of PS4 to PS5. But arguably, the sort of concerns you're laying out apply to the PS4 to PS5 cycle. But one thing we see time and time again is that nowadays consumers are they want to buy the next thing. They want to upgrade. They want to get the best out of their games and experiences. And so there's nothing unusual right now about the pace we're seeing from PS4 to 5, right? We're halfway through the cycle. PS5 is at 70 million. I can't see that not being very similar going into PlayStation 6, even though it's like conceivably you look at it and you think there's concerns, but honestly, I think they're very well positioned even going into PlayStation 6. Jeremy Joyner says, hey Ryan, recently I've returned to play the first 2 Infamous games to get the Platinums after 13 years, and I was curious, what is the longest time gap for a game that you started and later got the Platinum or completed? As always, thanks for the awesome content. P.S. Last Q&A you mentioned me being a longtime Patreon member, and I've been one since November 2021. Yeah, that's pretty long, I would say. Unless you're making the case of that's not a long time. In my book, I would say that's a long time. Not to discredit 2021, but honestly, if you're giving me any money, thank you. So if you're a long time, 1 month member, I appreciate you all so much. But Jeremy, I do know you've been here for a long time, and I greatly appreciate that. But as for your question, my big gaps are Resistance 2 and GTA 4. These ones are very oddly spaced out in that you can check timestamps. I got trophies from when the games came out. Excuse me, I'm being gross. And then I did not get a Jesus Christ. I did not achieve the platinum until I'm disgusting. And I don't want to edit that out because this is so goddamn long. I'm already at 1 hour and 41 minutes. So you're just going to have to live with it, Jeremy. The final timestamp for the platinum on those games, I think, is a 10-year differential. And they're both because they had online trophies that, you know, I gave up on them basically. And I didn't go back to them until there was like basically an exploit to cheese the remainder of the grind there. So Resistance 2, it was 10,000 kills. GTA 4, it was reaching the last online rank. Thank you for your question. Derek Bergen, good day to you. Peaceful greetings from Canada. I know, peaceful greetings. I love my Canadian brethren. Now, personally, I love immersion in video games. Before playing Tsushima, I watched old samurai films and then played the game in black and white in Japanese, that kind of thing. Have you ever made any conscious effort in your real life to add immersion to a gaming experience? I'd love to hear you riff about this. Thanks, Ryan. P.S. Dressing up for that disappointing dating sim is the fire I'm talking about. I don't think it's quite to that level, but I do try to, in circumstances like Tsushima, do that. Now, I didn't play in black and white, but I did play Tsushima in Japanese, for Japanese voice acting, rather. I did need the English subtitles, so I can't fully immerse in that way. But honestly, the thing is, I can't think of any other examples. I really can't. I think Tsushima is maybe the one that sticks out the most to me. I mean, I've definitely never, like, outside of silly video ideas, dressed up or something like that. I mean, if I need to, like, dig the bottom of the barrel here, you know, with TMNT for 30 platinums, I, like, got a pizza to eat that before I played the game, you know? So, I don't know. I'm sure I've had some sort of subconscious, like, example where I did something prior to the game that was related to the game to get in the mood for that game or something. But the recent example is absolutely Tsushima with Japanese voice acting for sure. Isaiah Hooks. Hey, Ryan, with the announcement of Saros, I thought I ought to finally play Returnal. Loved every second of it. I thought to myself, no wonder Ryan gushes about it all the time. Anyways, for my question, what do you think the best or most realistic fix to the current issue of game budgets ballooning out of control as well as development time? Wishing you and your family well this year. Thank you so much, Isaiah. I really appreciate that. And I am so glad you got to Returnal. I wonder how annoyed you were with me for how often I talked about Returnal and you only just now got to it and realized that shit fucking hits. It's so goddamn good. So that's awesome. I'm glad you had a great time with it, especially because Returnal is a game where I would recommend it, but people sometimes get to it and go, damn, this game got hands. What is this guy talking about? So I'm glad you had a great time with it. Now, I think I have to fully disclose, I'm not actively in the business. So who am I to say that I have the answer as far as, like, how do you fix ballooning game budgets? So I want to make that very clear. Like, who the fuck am I to try and propose a fix here? Because I, as much as I know about the business, I'm not in it, and I've never actively worked in it to the degree where I could possibly have some kind of good idea. My surface level armchair approach here, and I would like to think I'm somewhat informed to at least give an opinion in the sense that I would think it's a matter of just stepping back holistically as far as content in games. There is a widespread pressure generally of we need to give so much value to the customer. You know, games have to be really long. When you think about, like, the kind of games that, like, and this isn't even getting into the sort of tired debate of inflation in games, which is, you know, games have never been cheaper because, you know, the value of the dollar and XYZ thing. We all know that's true, but games can still be expensive. But I digress. You know, money aside, the inflation debate aside, time inflation is also a real thing with these games. You know, not only are games cheaper, I mean, Jesus Christ, they're fucking way longer than before. I don't even want to talk about this nonsense of, oh, but what about the DLC and the season passes and the games are incomplete? Okay, don't buy any of that shit. The game is still so fucking long compared to, like, Nintendo Entertainment System games. The only reason those games were ever long is because they're fucking hard and they beat your ass, right? like it is kind of a rant in my book here. I think like it's fine to take a step back and not make this 40-hour epic. Like, well, I say 40 because I'm immediately thinking of, let's say, The Last of Us Part 2. That game is industry leading as far as like what it's doing. But at a certain point, it's like, did it need to be 40 hours for that kind of experience? You know what I mean? Like, games don't have to be that long, especially I think in this environment where it's really tough to get time out of people and pull them away from black hole games, that being your Fortnite, PUBG, all these free to play games that, there's no pressure to go out and buy a new video game. Maybe the answer here is let's make shorter games. And also, maybe that also leans into we can start selling these and pull back the $70 price tag, go back to that 60, go back to that 50. And there are publishers, to their credit, that are playing around with that spectrum. With, Split Fiction just came out, and that's 50 MSRP, right? Astrobot 60. And these are games that they don't overstay their welcome. I think it would be fine to spend more time making experiences like that. And every so often, sure, you can have that 50, 100+ hour epic, and that'll be a $70 experience. But, I think it's tougher to tackle that issue as far as ballooning budgets go. But it's labor. Like, most of the cost is just labor, which means you need to get the game out the door sooner. And that means you have to compromise on something. Maybe that's the content, because you don't want it to be the quality. Maybe it's just the bloat that some games have. I don't know. That's my armchair analysis. Great question, though. Great question. Folks, that is it for Patreon. And my God, an hour 48. I don't even know. You know what? I'm on Patreon right now. Let me scroll to the last Q&A. How long was this bitch? That bitch was 3 hours. Okay, we're on track here. We're on track because I think we have more questions for the December Q&A. We're over to YouTube, folks. I hope I'm not like yelling into this microphone and I'm doing explosives and popping your ears off or something like that. I would imagine most people listen to this on like a drive to work or something, or they're in the gym. If you're in the gym, get those fucking gains, man. I see you slacking. Always do your reps to exhaustion. Well, that's primarily for strength training, but go till you can't go anymore. That's what I always say. At Weed2390. Hey Ryan, would you consider streaming GTA 6 when it releases? I know you've said that GTA is one of your all-time favorite franchises, so I think it would be a good game to make your streaming debut. Haha, you take it easy. You take it easy, Weed. I know you're on there smoking that devil's lettuce. I don't know. I'm just making an accusation. I don't even know if it's really true. But for GTA 6, no. Here's the thing. If I'm going to stream a game, I don't know if this is because I prop the experience up too high on a pedestal, but I think it's like insane that people stream and they stream games for the first time. It's just like, it's sacred to me. Like, I don't want to be on when I'm streaming, when I'm playing a game that I'm super excited for the first time. Ain't no way I'm compromising my experience with chat and having to look at it during a cutscene or having backseat gaming and it's the first time I'm playing, or I don't know. That sounds fucking insane to me. I no way I'm doing that for the first time I'm playing something that I'm so excited for. That is a me experience. Like that's how I see it in my book. If I'm going to stream, it's something that I've already played and I know what I'm doing, and it can be a very casual like talk with chat. That's how I've always seen it. I don't know. Maybe I'm just not cut out for streaming because I would never play new games. That's just how I would do it. So yeah, 6, I'm sorry, but that's going to be all for me, baby. But thank you for the question. VipPrinceGaming. Damn, I believe it's been 2 years between Patreon and YouTube. I've been supporting you like that. So happy anniversary to myself. Simple question. Streams when? Finally, I appreciate what you do. Keep it up and take it easy. Thank you so much, Prince Gaming. It has been a pleasure. Happy anniversary to us. And thank you for helping me, have electricity or have this roof over my head. It might be a small contribution in the grand scheme of things, but you don't know how much that means to me that you are allowing me to breathe in this house, my mans. Thank you. I appreciate that. Your question, though, I mean, I did just acknowledge this with streaming. I kind of went off on a rant. So I don't know if you jumped to your question. You can rewind a little bit to hear literally the previous question, which was, well, in fairness, actually, that was about the way that I would stream. You're asking streams when, so that's fair. Streams when. I don't know. I really want to. Don't get me wrong. I want to. The issue I will say is that if I ever finally get over that hump and I start doing it, I don't think there's any way I'd be able to commit to a schedule. I think it would almost certainly be, hey, I can do it and I'm doing it now. Like, I don't think I'd be able to schedule it. I don't think I'd be able to stick to a schedule. I think it would be a very on-the-fly thing if I start doing it. Honestly, I'll tell you this, a little inside scoop. I think I do want to start streaming certain recording sessions for videos. I do think, it would be in my best interest to start monetizing certain things that I am in the process of working on that would probably be better served with streaming and a chat. I've seen other people do this, where in a way it's repurposing, but it's not even repurposing. Like, so to explain this, and I really discovered this phenomenon with a lot of the Yu-Gi-Oh! YouTubers that I've been watching, but like, I saw that they'll do like streams for their channel. They'll record videos for their channel, and they are very much like polished videos that were meant to be, made for it, but they'll stream the recording process. And I found that to be kind of fascinating. It's like, yeah, I guess I could stream like the memory card videos, like when I'm exploring the memory cards and then loading the save files. That could be streamed. And it's like, it's fun to be there in the moment, and that'll be a cool thing to do if you're there. But if not, it'll still, like, that wouldn't be compromised by the time it goes for a final edit. You know what I mean? So I would like to do that at some point. I just don't know when. I really don't. I don't have an answer for you. So I apologize, but thank you for being here for 2 years. mikeyeatsfoxy says, hey, I'm finally about to give in and buy a PSVR 2. Are there any lesser known VR 2 titles that you never see get mentioned that you'd like to recommend? Also, do you think there are any hope of VR 1 titles being made available on VR 2? I'm Mikey Eats Foxy on PSN if you want to add me. Don't care if you show my name in the video. Please give Melissa a scratch on the head for me, and you take it easy. Thank you so much, Mikey. I assume your name is Mikey. You take it easy as well. So the hopes of VR1 titles, I mean, some games have. The issue is it does have to be a conscious choice from that developer and publisher to fund and ship a port on PSVR 2. So there's no back compatibility for VR1 titles, which means it's a title by title basis. So I don't know if you're asking for anything in particular, like the SIE titles. There are a few on PSVR 1, and they're not making any effort at all to move those games over, which is a bummer. But there are absolutely PSVR 1 games that have already gotten PSVR 2 ports. But as for lesser known titles, I'm not entirely sure. To be honest, I haven't played a lot of the lesser known things. I do think for all the VR titles I've played, I do tend to play the ones that like people usually know about. So I could name things, but you probably have already heard of them. That being, Pavlov, Job Simulator, Call of the Mountain, GT7, Before Your Eyes, Synapse. There's more, definitely more. It's just, I think those are well-known titles. Maybe I Expect You to Die VR. That's a pretty silly game. It's not super widely known compared to the other ones, but I gravitate towards the ones that are known. So I don't think I can actually give you a really good recommendation here. I would actually reach out to like some of the folks over at PSVR Without Parole and just maybe thumb through their channel and their reviews and see what they've got going on there. Like usually if I have VR questions, I'll reach out to Miles Dyer, my buddy over there, and he'll always be able to answer and give me some good inside knowledge on some of the stuff he knows about or games he's even actively working on. So anyway, thank you so much for the question, and I will add you on PSN hopefully very soon. I don't want to forget, obviously, because when I wrap this up, I have a number of ads that I will send out, so you should be seeing one very soon. Nintendo Matt. I see what you did there, the way you spelled that. Hi, Ryan. Hope all is well. I've been working on building up my PlayStation 2 library, and I have a few games that have GameStop stickers on the inserts. I'm planning on trying to carefully remove them with a Scotty peeler and hairdryer, but wanted to see if you had any advice for me before I attempt it. Thanks, and I hope you and everyone from the Spawncast. Thanks, and I hope to see you and everyone from Spawncast again at Too Many Games this year, Matt. Oh, Matt, you look familiar. Are you my boy that brought? You were wearing Ray's shirt, right? And you also had me sign a copy of BB and Tina at the horse farm. You bastard! I love you, you son of a bitch. Here's the thing. I have never attempted to get stickers off the actual art. I know you can do it. It's a much stickier process, no pun intended. This was also 2 weeks ago when you asked this, so I don't know if you already tried it, so you can let me know how that worked out for you. I do know there's one other. I'd have to find it, but I know there's a method where it comes off really clean. It's not. Well, maybe it is Scotty Pillar. Let me Google this real quick and make sure it's not basically what you're. No, it's not that. There's like there's a spray. A fucking spray. You would think that's bad because you're spraying paper, but I believe there's a spray that is like so oily that it like not only does it fall off the paper and not stain it, but it gets under stickers and you can remove it from box art and like Game Boy Advance physical games and things like that. So I forget what it's called though. I saw it in excuse me, that was very gross. I saw it in one of Double Jump Games, they're one of their vlogs, like because they're a retro store and they do this shit all the time, and I've seen them do that method, but I forget like what it was. So I wish I could give you an answer because I saw it on video. I saw them do it, and I was like, holy shit, that worked really well. So that's if you can do some Googling and try and find that out, or let me know how that worked out for you. But yeah, you'll probably have to try that. And yeah, I'll be there again for sure. If you see me, stop me. I'm sure we'll do a meet and greet as well. But if you even see me just walking around, stop and we'll chit chat it up, buddy. Erich 100MX. Hi Ryan, I'm a big fan of the content. Do you think there is a new Castlevania in development? We have a new Silent Hill, Metal Gear, and Contra games, but no Castlevania. And if when do you think it could be announced? Only if there is time. For a second question, do you think a native PS portable would play PS6 games or only PS5? Thanks so much for your insights. So for Castlevania, the rumor is that there is Castlevania coming back. The issue is there's like far less info as far as like where they are with that property. I think the last time we really heard about this is that they're simply exploring it still. So I don't even think there's like a recent rumor as far as like an exact game and if it's at a certain studio. But as you point out, like, yes, Konami is going back in the treasure chest and we're seeing all these things come back. There is movement on Castlevania. I don't think it's very far along, but I would think it's more a matter of like when and not necessarily if. We just don't know when is. And then we did touch on this earlier for the rumored PlayStation Portable. The thing is, even by the time they ship this thing, let's say 2027, let's say, they wouldn't be able to make a PS5 SoC in a portable form factor as far as like thermals and heat dissipation and things like that. So it would unfortunately be something where I expect it will be like a PS4 level SoC that pound for pound will play and launch all PS4 games with no patches. PS5 and also by proxy PS6 stuff would be you would need a patch for those games, or the studio would have to go out of their way to make a portable version of that game, which would be in the SDK. So I'm not implying that this would be a sort of PSP or Vita scenario where, you know, it's a completely separate dev environment where they have to make games for it in such a manner where they're at retail and they're separately on PSN. It would be more like a PS5 Pro thing where it's one executable, but depending on where you launch it, you get that particular mode. So PS5 or Pro or PSX or the new portable. That is what I expect. Take it to the bank. We'll see if I'm right about that. Tizidmrk. Hey Ryan, hope you are doing great. Was wondering what's your honest opinion on the PSVR 2 and have you tried the PC experience? Interesting question. I mean, this is one of those things where I don't mean to be rude, but like I do videos all the time, but well, I don't want to say all the time. Rather, we've done conversations about PSVR 2 plenty of times. So if you're on the channel, if you support, like you've heard my opinion. I like it. I like it a lot. I'm a big advocate of VR. If you've not seen those videos, I would recommend to look them up. Let me try and get a particular conversation that I can better point you to. Because there's one that I did somewhat recently. PSVR 2. I think I titled it PSVR 2 Problem or something. It was a story from 9 months ago. It still holds up true. It was called Sony Giving Up on PSVR 2 ? Sony making deep cuts to VR game development, because it was a rumor that was kind of bogus, but it's a 19-minute conversation. I really dive into the how I really feel about PSVR 2. I'm a big advocate of PSVR 2 and VR generally speaking. And yeah, I've played PC VR games. The problem with VR, which by proxy is a PSVR 2 problem, is that it's a VR problem. The VR space is just not growing like the industry thought it would, or at least maybe even also how consumers expected it to go. It's a lot more niche than everyone expected it to be. So there's a problem as far as how many people have access to VR, are willing to play VR, the habit of playing VR, the amount of headsets that are out there, and if developers can ship and make money on it. So, I don't want to be rude and retread all the same steps here, but this is absolutely something we've covered before. So I just encourage you to see some of the prior conversations. But I think, I do really, I like PSVR 2 a lot. And that's always my honest opinion. I've never not given an honest opinion on anything I say on this channel. It is always my honest opinion. And sometimes that gets people mad at me, but, that's just how it is. ConnorSatty says, do you think we will ever get a new Uncharted? Can you order your 9 least favorite... Whoa, hold on. So that's one question. And then second, can you order your 9 least favorite to most favorite PlayStation consoles, including portables and VR, minus PS1, PSP, PSVR, PS4, PS Vita, PS2, PS5, PS3, and I don't have VR too. Thanks, and tell Melissa hi. Is she in this room? Hi, Melissa. Hi. ConnorSatty said hi. I also have to give you a scratch on the head from somebody else earlier, so I do have to do that. But do you think there'll ever get a new Uncharted? The thing is, there's been like movement on the IP as far as like every so often we get a rumor. The thing is, there's just not enough there, I think, just yet to like confidently say that one is coming. But like, there's that Cassie Drake, tease in that one commercial, but that was like a long time ago. There were some job listings about a new team being formed, and they were looking for experience in 3D cinematic or action adventure, and they were building a AAA cinematic game, and it was working in collaboration with Naughty Dog. So that was like, I think 2 years ago. So, I mean, there's movement. I don't think there's enough there just yet to say for sure if it is a new Uncharted. I guess what is also being speculated on is that, I think it's Sean Eskegy at Naughty Dog right now, and he is working on a game that is not intergalactic, and that's been in development for 3 years now, I want to say. So people are also thinking maybe that's a new Uncharted. So it's tough to say. I think where there's smoke, there's fire. So maybe we will see a new Uncharted fairly soon. I don't want to say fairly soon. At some point would maybe be the better way to say it. And then least favorite to favorite. Yeah, well, so the context definitely is. I mean, I love them all. I think they're all great. They all have good software. But if I had to rank it, yeah, that's tough. I think PSVR 1 and PS1 are probably kind of close. And that's not like a bad thing to them. If anything, PS1 probably is like the last. And the reason why is because like PS1 software is just, it's hey, you respect the lineage, you love it. But I'm telling you, people, if you haven't gone back to PS1 games, and I do go back to them, I would say more often than most others, they're tough to play. It's a very growing pains generation. So it's, super life-changing, I think, for video games as far as what the PlayStation meant. But, it's at the bottom, let's be honest. PSVR 1, I just said I love VR, but like PSVR 1's probably, lower on that ladder. My list might actually be somewhat close to yours if I'm being honest. Here's the thing. So far I do rank PS5 higher than PS4 because I genuinely think outside of people acting like cross-gen games don't count, I think the software lineup's been a lot more compelling versus PS4 in the same time frame. The back half remains to be seen, but I would rank PS5 higher. I would rank PS Vita just slightly higher than PSP. I know I'm not doing it in order, but this is like the only way I can answer this question. PSVR 2 is probably... Actually, I would say PSVR 2 and PSP are pretty close together. And then PS Vita above that. And you know what? I think my ranking is very close to yours. PS2, then 5, then 3. I think my list is actually not too far off from yours, Connor. So hopefully I gave you an answer that is... satisfactory to you. Falon69 says, what is up, Mang? Hope you and Melissa are doing well. Okay, I'm only asking this because I had no question, and you said, let's get real weird with it. What was your first anime video game crush and why? I have a feeling you'll say Tifa. Anyway, keep up the amazing content both here and Click R3. You take it very easy. Ooh. He capitalized very. Everybody capitalizes the U. So Falon, I'll be honest, I think you are getting very weird with it. You're exploring some deep chambers here that have not been explored for quite a while, and I'm here to look through them with you and rifle through what we find together. Ooh, video game anime crush. Yeah, I mean, Tifa's up there. Tifa's absolutely up there. Although I'll say, what's her name from Spyro? You're the Dragon. Oh, what's her name? The bunny. She's a bunny too. Because actually, you know, for a lot of, I think, young kids, like your anime, and it's not, I know it's animation by definition, but the animation answer here for a lot of people is like Lola Bunny or something. But there's a bunny in Spyro, You're the Dragon. And she can kind of get it, you know what I'm saying? Like I liked her. But if we're talking anime, I really loved, and I forget her name too, but the chick from Fooly Cooly, where you know, there's that like will they won't they with the young kid, and you know he's in high school, and excuse me, I'm dying over here. Naoko, I think it was Naoko, right? Naoto, I forget her name. I'm so bad with, dude, I'm awful memory-wise. I am so goddamn bad with this. You know, it's a good thing we're exploring this chamber together because I'm actually blind. I don't have dark vision at all. You're going to have to hold my hand as we work through this cavern, wherever the fuck we are. But thank you so much, Falon. I appreciate it, and I hope that is a good answer. Sandrez says, hello, Mr. Mystic. Watching your videos every week has made me realize you often wear the Reckless brand, and I was wondering if there's any story to it. Hope you're well. I love you, and you take it easy. Love you too, Sandrez. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's funny. It's every so often this comes up. It came up earlier in this Q&A. The answer is, if you didn't hear, if you just jump to this right to your question, I was always like younger. I was always into streetwear clothing. So I was like a skater kid. I wore, you know, DC and Element and DGK and things like that. And so I was always into like streetwear. When Young and Reckless came to the scene in 2009, it felt cool to like get into a brand like at ground zero. So not only did I buy into it right away, but I also got involved with the brand. So I was part of their street team, which was like a sort of ambassador program where, you know, I would do social media work for them and they would give me a discount code and free shirts and gear and all that. And so basically I kind of worked for them for a very long time. And because of that, I just accumulated a lot of clothing. Like straight up, I did not need new clothes for years. So that's why I always wore Young and Reckless exclusively. You know, it felt cool to be there from the beginning, and I just had a lot of it. The thing is, you say watching your videos every week has made me realize you often wear Reckless. Well, here's the thing. I actually have not been wearing Young and Reckless in years now at this point for shirts. So I know I do wear it on occasion. It's only for hoodies, basically. So all the shirts that I wear now are just like Goodfellows from Target, very cheap and comfortable, and I think they fit me well. I did sort of grow out of it to a degree in that I don't buy Young and Reckless anymore, but I do buy their hoodies. I really like their hoodies. So the first time I bought Young and Reckless again was very recent. I'm talking like a few months ago. I bought 3 new hoodies. And so, yes, I do still wear it every so often. And it does make me feel, it kind of reminds me of high school in a way. So it's cool that I have some more of it because actually it's been out of rotation for a while. I really don't have a whole lot of it anymore. But thank you. Captain Cabana says, or Captain Cabana 4144, hey Ryan, first of all, thank you for the content. I've been enjoying it for many years and watching your videos. Listening to you talk about games, your collection, and trophies is just comfort to me. Anyway, any plans on more videos with Terrell? Anything console release lineup related, or just content with the two of you hanging out, talking, and playing games? You know we love to see it. Yes, I you know what's funny? I'm so happy that people do enjoy those videos to the degree where they're not the kind of uploads that just do bad. Because I'll be like, there are uploads where I'll put them up and they do bad. And it's like, ooh, I maybe can't do those anymore. For example, PS Vita content eventually just was doing so bad for me. It's like, I guess I just got to let PSV to go. And I hate that, like, business-wise, you have to start looking at it like that. Recently, I put up the Astrobot upload for the recent speedrun levels. That video did fucking awful. And YouTube is this place where, like, you can't keep uploading losers. So I think if, like, they put out more DLC, I don't think I can, like, do that video again anymore. So I'm so happy that the Terrell content has worked out to the point where, like, people love it. They're excited to see more of it. And I oftentimes get comments where people say, like, we can really see you two are like actual friends. And that's what I always tell people. He is my actual best friend. He's really family at this point. But yes, more Terrell stuff on the way. The issue is he is a family man. He's got real responsibilities. He's got a wife, 2 kids. I love those kids. I see Terrell almost every week, basically. And I go, usually it's because of the circumstance, right? I mean, I'm a single guy living alone. I go to his place. Almost always it's me going there because that's what works for us. And I want to see the kids anyway. So it's hard for him to, 1, find time, and 2, for him to come here. And then 3, like, if he can do that, we just like spending time together. So I don't want it to get to a point where it's always us monetizing our time together. But, you know, every like 3-4 months, I'm like, it's time again. and I get him to do something. And I've got a few ideas for what me and Terrell can do. It is more console launch lineups for sure. So we've done 3, PSP, and now PS2. So we've got a few more PlayStation platforms to do. And there's other ideas that I have written down. When we get to them, I do not know, but it'll happen eventually. It's Rokusi. I hope I said that correctly. Hey there, Ryan, how's it going? Now that we're finally probably getting GTA 6 later this year, I was wondering what other franchises you'd like to see Rockstar go back to in the future besides GTA and Red Dead. I am going to say this and it's completely unironic, Rockstar's table tennis. I think that game is actually really fun, and it's super fun. It's bizarre and weird that like they ever did that. I played a lot of that game on Xbox 360, and I think it's fun when a really well-known publisher and studio kind of goes out of the way to do like something like that of all things. So I would not mind a Rockstar table tennis sequel. Pillow Talk 5H. Hey Ryan, been watching your videos since 2017 and never miss an LTPS since I started watching you. I was curious, is YouTube your main source of income? And if so, is it enough to have a decent living, like buying a house, a car, and other essential things? I always wondered how YouTubers make money off YouTube and if that's enough. I see you making a lot of videos where you spend a ton of money purchasing old PlayStation games, random collections, and have a ton of random figures in your room, so I assume that you make enough to purchase all of these things. Also, sorry if this question is personal. You don't have to share any personal details. I'm just curious how YouTube and income works and if it's enough. Anyways, I will always support what you are doing, and as a PlayStation fan, I really appreciate what you're doing for the community. Keep it up. Thank you so much, Pillow Talk, for the question and support and for watching since 2017, because that is insane. That means you are a really long time OG viewer, because this channel did not really blow up until like 2018, 2019. So you were there during like LTPSs where they, struggled to break a few thousand views. So to answer your question, let's frame it that way, right? LTPS for years only got maybe a few thousand views. Now it reliably hits 50,000 views. Look at that increase. Look at what, some Tuesday videos will do. There are some videos you can go back to and you'll see that they're at 500,000 views to 1 million views. It is views and it's ad income. So the way YouTube works, and I'll tell you right now, there are way better resources about this. If you're like that curious, there is a rabbit hole you can dive into. Just look it up right on YouTube, and you'll see other very big established channels. They'll show you their analytics full blown. Now, I'm not really going to do that. I think that's a little bit too personal. That's the whole never ask a man his salary kind of thing. So I wouldn't show it, but other people do. So you can see like a lot of how it works, but I will give you the breakdown. So it's just like television, where when you're watching a YouTube video, ads are served on that video. And because it's my video, I get a cut of that ad rev. I am ad space. I'm valuable ad space to a company, and they will pay for that. So it's just views. The more views you have, the more ad impressions are served, and therefore you're going to make more money. Now, here's where it gets really crazy, though, which is YouTube is a place where it is highly dependent, and I don't want to say just strictly YouTube. It's, the way advertisers work is they want to find that audience and serve the ad to the right audience. So depending on the kind of content you make, that will dictate how much money you're paid per 1,000 views. That's generally like the sort of metrics, CPM, RPM, things like that. These are certain metrics that will be floated around out there, as in you're paid, a certain amount, let's say $5 for every 1,000 views. So that means on average, you'll make $5 for every 1,000 views, right? So if you're sticking with me here, that number will vary widely depending on the content you make, because if you make videos about cars, that means car advertisers want to serve ads on your channel, and they pay differently compared to, let's say, the entertainment space, which is a very broad spectrum, but that'll be like Netflix and Hulu and movie trailers and obviously video games, right? Video game advertisers will want to serve on gaming channels, but they pay differently compared to what car advertisers will pay, or what, I don't know, general household products will pay, like cooking utensils, or it's anything you could think of. The crazy thing is that because of that, views are not equal between channels. Gaming generally is like below average, which means you need a lot of views to make decent money from gaming channels. So there's a lot of pressure from a gaming channel to get a lot of views if you want to, say, as you implied, comfortably live off it, which, as a tangent, I will answer, yes, I'm very thankful that this has become a career for me. It's been full-time since 2019. That's when I was able to quit the day job reliably. It was a big leap of faith, but I can comfortably pay for not just my living and all the other essential things, but also just having expendable income and buying video games, which the fun thing there is, like, when it becomes your business, you can write off those things if you're actually using them for work. So little tangent there, but yes, I can live off it. And I'm very thankful for that. I want to always stress that your viewership has played a role in that, and it's a wonderful thing. Having said that, you need a lot of views if you're in the gaming landscape. On the other end of the spectrum, there are examples where, let's say, and I don't know if you know this, there are people that do personal finance videos. Like lawyers will do videos about law, or people will do videos about the stock market. People will do videos about financial advice. And the financial sector, where like online courses will pay a lot of money to serve to that audience, because it's, that kind of environment where people want to learn how to save money or make money, or, learn about a startup, or like ad space is super valuable there. So, you see, it's not uncommon to see CPMs that are like $20, $30 for every 1,000 views, which means their views are worth a lot more than mine. So, as an example, let's say, so these aren't my numbers, but let's say 100,000 views, you might make $300, let's say 100,000 views, $300. If it was gaming, and let's say that's 300, I don't even know if that's really accurate for gaming, but again, for the sake of the conversation, 100,000 views, you make $300. For a financial channel, that could be like $2,000. And that's how crazy it is. So you might not even need a lot of views depending on the niche that you're in. That's how people refer to it, as what niche you're in. So there's a lot to look at. Again, if you're interested, you can absolutely look up more, and you'll see channels, and they'll even show you their YouTube analytics, and you can learn a lot more about that. But that's your little lesson in the here and now for your question. So thank you so much, and I appreciate you for watching. Cheese plays with himself. Oh my God. Hello, I found your channel a few months ago looking up stuff on PS3. Your videos have been very helpful and entertaining. Thank you all. Thank you for all the PS3 and PS5 help, by the way. One of the series of yours I watched was Crash Bash with Brandon. I was just curious if you still talk to them and how they're doing. I know you keep in touch with Terrell from your Platinum Trophy video and launch game videos, but was just wondering about Brandon because I haven't seen any videos with him that are newer, so just not sure if he's still around or if I'm just not happening to watch any where he's a guest and visiting. Thank you so much for the content, and I hope life is going well. Much love. Much love to you. Thank you so much, Cheese. That is playing with themselves. Making me a little bit uncomfortable, but you keep doing you. Good question, though. Every so often, Brandon comes up. Yeah, Brandon, he's one of those friends where we're still friends. Like, we're on good terms. Nothing wrong with that, really. He's just the kind of friend where I haven't seen him in a while. Every so often, we'll text. We have a group chat because I used to the way I know Brandon is from a previous job, and that's like 2 jobs removed now at this point, but we're all still friends. It's just, that's a friend group that we all kind of just grew up and have lives, you know? So there's like some people in my life, and Terrell is one of them, where he's like family. He's not even like a friend. I see him like on a weekly basis almost. But Brandon, I mean, I might see him like every so often when we all can finally coordinate schedules and we'll go on a brunch together. Or we might, you know, if somebody gets married, that's the last time I'll see these people. So we're all happy and on good terms with each other. But like, it's definitely a matter of like, they're all just adulting. I'm adulting. And that's where Brandon went. So he's doing good though. He's doing good. He got married. And like, that's just part of it. He's got a life, but, yeah, we actually are due to see each other soon again. So maybe if I remember, I'll bring it up and try to also, let you know in a future Q&A if you're still around. Nathan Drake 123 said, "Hello there, Mr. Mystic. What is, in your opinion, the most iconic sound in PlayStation history? Anything really from the precursor or pickup sound to the PS2 startup sound? Heard you're adding people on PSN, so here's mine. Yep, of course, I will do that. Wouldn't it be easier, though, for us to add you? Well, no, of course not, because PSN, if you don't know, has a 2,000 limit, not just as far as friends on PSN. It's a friend limit, between friends you have and pending friend requests. So if you tried to add me, it wouldn't go through because I have 2,000 full slots between friends and requests. So it's impossible to add me. The reason why I have to add you is because I have to manually clear a space and in that window of time send out a request before someone sends a new one in, which is not impossible because my ID is very public and people do tend to try to add me. So sometimes like people slip through the cracks and they're able to get that pending request in when, you know, I wasn't planning on adding somebody, if that makes sense. But that's usually why I have to do that. And then for iconic PlayStation sounds, I think it is the PS2 startup, to be honest. I know PS1 is usually the answer here, but I think PS2 resonated with a lot more people, not just as far as like a bigger install base, but just globally, like the PlayStation brand. It was big, you know? And that startup, those towers, they absolutely hit. And I think they punch a little bit harder than the PS1. Ugnius60. I don't know if I said that right at all. Hey Ryan, hope you're doing well. I really enjoy your content. I wanted to ask, what's your favorite standout feature or highlight from each PlayStation console? Thanks, and you take it easy. Favorite standout feature from each console? Well, PS1 probably playing CDs, PS2 probably playing DVDs. They don't do anything that much more beyond that. PS3, I mean, God, the thing does so many fucking ridiculous things, and that's what I love about that console. PS4, that's really the life cycle where, you know, streaming kind of dominated the platform, so it's just basically a streaming box at that point. And PlayStation 5, much the same. So I think that's kind of, I don't know, it's hard to like spend much more time on a question that's getting into 5 different PlayStations, but I think generally speaking, that's kind of what you're looking at for all 5 of them. They all sort of like fit in that category of time of them serving a purpose that was very like very relevant to what consumers were doing at the time. So the PS1 CD example, then PS2 with DVDs and so on and so forth. PS3 probably would be like Blu-ray, right? For standout feature or highlight. But by the time it was PS4, it was just PS4 and 5. They're just streaming boxes. I guess PS5 would be Ultra HD Blu-rays. Just Pouliot. Hey Ryan, hope you're doing well. Been watching all LTPS from number 1 and currently around 550. Love seeing the evolution and step up in quality through the years. No questions other than, would you add me on PSN and ask this last Q&A and my settings were not open? Okay, that's good. So you've got it open for now. Excuse me. Thanks for the great content and you take it easy. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And that is absolutely, batshit insane. To go back and watch old LTPSs sounds cringe to me. Now I know it's me, so that's why it would be cringe. But man, I know that like 1 to 500 was bad. Well, maybe not 500. Maybe let's say 1 to the 400s maybe. Because here's the thing, and I appreciate that you've acknowledged the evolution and how much bigger the show has gotten and how much more serious I've taken it and tried to really get better at the craft. But I just know, like, early on, it was like 5-minute bullshit where I just say the most dumb shit possible and I don't know what I'm talking about. I know nothing about games or game development or the industry, and I'm just some, armchair expert asshole who's trying to say things that he doesn't know nothing about. And also I think I was a really bad presenter. I had my speech was not great. I slurred my speech a lot and I didn't enunciate very well. So I have tried to be a lot better within the past 200 episodes, I would say. So, in a way, it's crazy that you're actually going back and watching those, because I think they're unwatchable at this point. But thank you so much for the kind words. Antonio Vega 6229. Hey, what's up, Ryan? Hope you're doing awesome. I must say I've been following your videos for many years, and they've helped me through some very difficult times, always making me feel better. You inspired me to get the platinum for Death Stranding, and I can't wait for the second part of the game. My question is, do you think Sony will reach a point of overconfidence where the competition could overtake them, as almost happened during the PlayStation 3 generation? I feel like they're overconfident right now without many huge exclusives like on the PS4, where there was a new one almost every month. Another question, do you think it's a good idea for PlayStation to buy Square Enix to keep Final Fantasy for good? I love Final Fantasy, and I would love for Sony to buy the whole franchise. Thanks for reading my questions. Keep up the good content, brother. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I appreciate the kind words, as always, so thank you so much. And awesome to hear that you're playing Death Stranding. That's a favorite of mine. I would disagree entirely. The thing is, I know it obviously looks like that, and I think there is a little bit of Sony definitely playing around with this idea that they are in this unchecked lane as far as they're the only high-end console that's really doing well right now. Microsoft basically, gave up in a sense. They're doing very bad right now. There is still going to be new Xbox hardware, but Sony, yes, I would say is playing around with that whole, let's see how much we can get out of the customer as far as the way they price games and certainly consoles, but there's also a lot of just underlying pressure as far as they're a public company. Games are very expensive nowadays, and so there's a lot of elements at play. But as far as overconfidence and PS3, look back at PS3, it was very different. I mean, the Sony back then versus today, I think people have got it way wrong. I mean, PS3 was a fucking disaster, way worse than people remember it to be. This Sony is still very concerned with making sure you spend your time and money on PlayStation. So dialing back to prior conversations and even this Q&A, Sony is concerned with making sure you spend time on a PlayStation. So whether it's, Xbox, which is a, close-ish competitor, same with Nintendo, they consider anything outside of PlayStation as competition. If you're watching too much Netflix, they think that's competition. So they have a diligence here to make sure that they are offering you good products and good games. And I would also make the argument, and be in disagreement here, that they've done better this generation so far with PS5 versus PS4 on a launch-aligned basis. Now, the back half of the console cycle, still remains to be seen, but I think if you look at the first few years of PS4 compared to PS5, I think they've been punching above their weight as far as the games. There are, this is the issue too. People act like if they ship on PC, it doesn't count all of a sudden, or if it has a PS4 version, it doesn't count. People are buying PS5s at the same rate they were buying PS4s back in the day. People are buying the PS5 versions of these games, so pound for pound, for the sake of the argument, Forbidden West is a PS5 game. It should count just as much as some of the early PS4 exclusives did, comparably speaking. Same for Ragnarok or Gran Turismo 7 or this, that, and the fourth. And I think they released a ton of great software early on. So especially if you rewatch the initial PS5 reveal event and you start to realize, holy shit, what a fucking reveal event. Sackboy, Returnal, Demon's Souls remake, Horizon, a God of War tease. It was actually insane how much software they were backing and showing for before PS5 even came out. So I don't think they're overconfident. I think they're still very concerned with making sure they keep your hard-earned money on PlayStation. But as for buying Square, no, if they do it, I guess it wouldn't surprise me. But I think Sony is in a position, and certainly Square is in this position as well, of, just Well, Square, I mean, they trimmed off some fat by selling off their Western studios. At the time, the conversation was maybe that's them trying to look attractive to a prospective buyer like Sony. But right now, the new president at Square is very concerned with turning the company around, and that's going to be heavily multi-platform. So they're probably not going to be taking any exclusivity deals anymore. So they're probably trying a different approach of seeing how their software does when they day and date all that stuff on PS5, PC, probably also Nintendo Switch 2 at this point. So they're probably going to want to do that before they consider buyout options. And Sony, I don't think, is maybe all that interested in buying them out anymore when they too can see that, the Final Fantasy name has been struggling to do the kind of numbers that it, used to do before. It still does well. And maybe there's a future where it makes sense for both companies. But right now, I think they're actually maybe a little bit misaligned. And it would be not the most characteristic acquisition for Sony in that sense. So I hope that does answer your question. All right, folks, let's get to the email questions. We do have a few here. Andrew Ritter says, hello, Ryan. You have inspired me to embark on the expensive journey of collecting every mainline Pokemon game. So far, I have red, blue, and gold. I noticed in one of your pickup videos that you had purchased some very nice acrylic cases to protect your games. My question is, can you tell me what website you got them from and if you would recommend them? I tried to look it up and I couldn't really find anything that looked like the ones you had. Thanks for the content and much love from Michigan, Andrew. Oh, Michigan. Pure Michigan. Have I mentioned that before? I feel like I always have to say pure Michigan when I hear about Michigan. I was there recently. Not recently. That was over not Christmas break. It was right before Christmas break, early December. Me, Terrell, his wife, kids. We usually go to the Bavarian Inn in Frankenmuth. We usually like to go to that Christmas store and just walk the town. I don't know where you are in Michigan. You may have no idea what the fuck I'm talking about, but every so often your boy is up in Michigan. Anyway, the point is, the acrylic cases, I'm surprised. How are you not finding them? So, they're just on eBay. You can just look it up. Acrylic cases, Game Boy Advance. You'll probably find them. And there's a few different ones. I mean, as far as vendors go, but they're all basically the exact same. So I'm a bit surprised you can't find them because I think if you just go to, and it's eBay, not like a particular website or anything, but usually eBay, there's a few vendors, acrylic Game Boy Advance cases, and you'll find the heavy duty ones. And I think they are, a little bit pricey. I think they're $15 maybe a pop, but I think they're worth the investment if you're talking about complete in box Pokemon games or any complete in box Game Boy Advance games. Keith Healy says, howdy Ryan, not sure if you take video questions. Ooh, this is spicy. But just in case, here you go. I've attached one anyways. Thanks for everything you do. I might have to insert this after, but I'm going to play this bitch up. This is interesting. Oh, Keith, look at you. You look fucking comfortable with your, what is that, coffee? You might tell me. Let's find out.
Mystic.
Hey.
My beautiful reverse balding bastard, how are you?
Oh, I'm good.
So, I have one question for you, my good sir.
Yeah.
Ashlyn, Tess, or Kira?
Oh!
And you know what I mean. Thanks for everything you do. Have a good one. You take it easy.
Oh, Keith. Oh, god damn it. God damn it. God damn it. It's Kira. It's always Kira, is it not? Not only is she the hometown girl, she's the girl next door, but the blue hair too, man. I mean, I think she's got it all, She's got it all. It's Kira, and it always has been Kira. You're funny too, man. Thank you so much. That was that was fucking cool. Appreciate you so much. You're a beautiful bastard as well. What are you drinking though? You didn't even tell me. That looks like some coffee. I like that natural sunlight you're getting into. That's good for you. Jimmy Boss says, hi Ryan, hope you and Melissa are doing good. First, do you think the new PlayStation handheld will let us use physical goblins, use our disc games, maybe through a PS5 console authentication? Like if we have the disc in our PS5, we have the license on our handheld temporarily. Let's be honest, there's next to zero chance that the handheld has any physical games itself, and this seems to be the only way I can think of to be able to enjoy the physical collection on the go. What do you think? And then number two, Will you make any content out of your FF7 Rebirth playthrough? I know you've mentioned before this is one of those games for yourself, and I understand, but I think the VR challenges and other post-game platinum cleanup at the end could do with some great content due to your likely frustrating and always creative swearing. Without stopping you from enjoying the story on your own time, I would take a raw, multiple-hour long file if you don't want to invest time into editing and stuff. Please consider it. And third, you've mentioned before the possibility of getting an editor. Any progress on that? If you were to get one, could we expect more regular content like 3 videos a week? A man can dream. As always, you take it easy. Love for Melissa. P.S. Could you add me on PSN? Absolutely, Jimmy Boss. You've been around for a long time, so I have no goddamn idea why you have not asked that before. You were always entitled to it, but thank you so much for your questions. Now, for number one, are you saying that because I said that before? That I think I mentioned that on, that might have been ClickR3 actually, but I did say like, that is, if anything, the only way they would do it. It would be an online check-in, tied to, PSN and making sure that you would approve the authentication. But like that's my only roundabout understanding of how they could maybe offer that as far as being able to use your discs on the portable, this new portable that will eventually come out at some point. I don't know if they would do that. I really don't. But technically speaking, I think there's no way that wouldn't work the way I think that works. I just don't, and I wouldn't be confident that is what will happen. So it might be a very good play to, actually have a lot of digital games if that upcoming portable is strictly a portable device, or a digital portable device. But yeah. Second question. Look, I'm not going to lie. You're making a compelling case of it only being the post content or, after the story's done, everything after that. You're making a compelling case. I will actually tell you right now, I'm considering a video where it's going back to basically what you're saying is there are so many platinums that I have to go back to, right? Your Last of Us Part 2, or I haven't done the Iki Island expansion, or God of War Valhalla. All these games that I'm missing platinums or trophy cleanup. And like, I wouldn't mind like filming that because I already did the base game and I kind of, had my me time with those games. So you're not wrong. I still don't know if I'm really willing to do that for Rebirth. But number 3, I answered this earlier. I've considered it. I don't know if it's going to happen soon, but my line of thinking is there is a series of videos I'd like to do and they are trophy related, which like I'd love to do more trophy stuff. It really it eats up a lot of time. The trophy stuff are really long edits. So my line of thinking is maybe I would get help for only those. Only an editor, and I would just kick off any trophy videos to them. So it would be a fun thing to film, and I know I don't have to edit them, and that would be how we get 3 videos out a week. I don't know if that's going to happen anytime soon, but that's sort of what I'm kicking around, and I hope you I hope that eventually happens and then you end up enjoying the end result. So thank you. Logman2. How many zeros is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2. So Logman2 00002. Hey Ryan, hope you and Melissa are doing well. In a previous collection update video, you mentioned that you were hesitating about playing Alan Wake 2 due to the scarier atmosphere and change in tone. I was wondering if you ended up playing it since then, and if so, what were your thoughts? I too waited for the physical release, and I don't regret it one bit. It became one of my top 3 favorite games. Sending lots of love and appreciation for your hard work and content from Perez, YouTube member Tasty Unicorn. Thank you so much, Tasty Unicorn. P.S. Could you add me on PSN? Absolutely, I will get that done. I had to send my question by email because for some reason it kept getting automatically deleted by YouTube. Sorry about that. Yeah, I don't know why it does that sometimes, but Alan Wake 2. I started it, did not get very far, and I didn't get far enough to the point where the game was going to start spooking me. So I do have to admit I was being a little bit cheeky there, but during my initial PS5 Pro testing, I did want to check out the Pro mode for the game. So I did initially start it. I'll tell you though, it fucking hooked me. That initial very trippy murder scene with that bare ass. I mean, yeah. And then building the case file around it, I was like, oh, I want to keep playing this. But I had to put it down because I had to move on to work and things like that. So I'd love to get to it at some point, but I have no idea when. And that is an answer that is very similar to damn near everything on this Q&A, which is would love to, don't know when. Jim C. Greetings, Ryan. Hope you're doing well. For this month's Patreon Q&A, I wanted to get your thoughts on collector's editions. Over time, I've become less and less interested in big box collector's editions since I don't have room for them, and they tend to have a lot of trivial items that I have no use for. I also don't like steelbooks because I prefer the clean look of standard versions on my shelf. I think I've heard you say that you feel similarly, so my question is, what would you want to see from collector's editions in the future? I would love for publishers to completely depart from the current strategy and instead just release standard physical versions of their games with really high quality manuals. I know it's not likely that we'll ever see a comeback for manuals for bigger AAA games, but the physical version of Astrobot did get a pretty awesome poster. Excuse me. And what game sold relatively well? And that game sold relatively well physically. What do you think? Thanks for all you do, and take care, Jim C. Jim, thank you so much for your question. And yes, 100%, I feel exactly the way you do. So you've heard through the grapevine correctly. Yes, I'm right with you. They take up too much space. They have these cool trinkets, but it's like, what the fuck am I going to do with this shit? You know what I mean? I feel like people and I was totally guilty of this. You look at it, you ooh and ah. You bring home that big $200 box. You look at all your cool trinkets. You start playing the game. What did you do with those trinkets? Did you put them back in the box? Maybe some people did use them. I don't know. I've actually made a conscious effort to try and use them recently with the ones I do have, which are old now at this point because I stopped buying those things forever ago. I don't know if there's like a good solution though to making them better because it's like they don't have to cater to me. They can release these things and I just don't buy them. You know what I mean? Especially because I want the physical print without a steelbook and I want it to look normal on my shelf. So yeah, I'm in agreement there. If anything, I guess the style I've liked and I have bought these is the way Square did it with FF16 and Remake and Rebirth, which is a deluxe physical edition. It's a slightly bigger box, but it's not massive, and it comes with posters, steelbook, and your standard game case. I like that. Now I still don't use the extra things in there, but it's just enough of I'm very excited for this property. I'm willing to give you another $20 or something, so it's not super price prohibitive, but it's also just a nice box to put on the shelf and maybe front face or something like that, and it really doesn't take up that much room. I like those, and there's not really a lot of those, I find. Joe comes in with, hey Ryan, I've got two small questions for you. You said you were doing an interview in the line of a few people who got the Platinum on Concord. What happened to that? And number two, how did you and John get to know each other? You take it easy. So for question one, you're not wrong. It's one interview with one person that got the Platinum on time. Here's what I'll tell you, Joe. I am praying I finally release that video soon because I think it's been over a year, close to a year, because Concord came out in August, so it's impossible for it to be a year. But yeah, I did that a very long time ago, and I have this very bad habit of working on an edit, working on a video, because the interview was done. So I got the interview into post. I broke it down, started to add gameplay. Scope creep hit me. The video got bigger and bigger, and I kept wanting to add more to it. And now I think I think I might frame it as this might be a documentary, which I haven't done a documentary in a very long time, but it's going to come out to, it's not going to be super long, maybe 20 minutes, but there's just a lot to it. And so I think I might start to frame it more as a formal documentary style video in terms of how I'm editing it. And I'm going to hopefully go back to it soon because I put a lot of work into it and then I had to put it down because I just got burnt out. And so I'll go back to it at a certain point. I think you'll probably see it go up on the channel in a few months. And then how did me and John meet or know each other? John reached out to me, which because for the Spawncast, it's always a rotating chair. They always get guests on. So John is absolutely the one where he reached out first and just invited me on. And I did one Spawncast, then I did another. Then I did another, and I think I was the person that was on there the most now at that point. Then he said, hey, you can just be on all the time. And I was good with being on every week. Then John changed it, and so that kind of got all screwy. So now I barely make it on there nowadays. But that's also because the other thing me and John did was like he wanted to do a PlayStation podcast, and I was like, I can really only commit to that bi-weekly. But that's kind of how we initially began. Is he'll always reach out, and he's usually the one that will start those kind of relationships. So it's all on John. It's his credit, but he's a very nice gentleman, good friend. Faaris Fowzi. Hey Ryan, I wanted to ask you, as someone who buys games a lot, I'm sure you have a lot of backlogs of games that you want to play. Can you show us if you have a list of it? And how do you plan to play all the games if possible? You take it easy. If I could laugh at this hysterically in a way where it's like almost comical from like a TV show where somebody asks a ridiculous question and then all you get is laughing and not a real answer, that's what this would be. No, I don't have a list, and I can't tackle it. I don't know how to tackle it. It's not possible. No way. There's so much I want to play. The way I want to tackle it, Fawaz, is retire. I think if the only way I could ever like start actually playing everything I want to play would probably be like full-blown retirement. And in a weird way, I actually do think about that, which is kind of fucked up because it's like, wow, I'm not going to be able to play all the games I want to play until I'm like in my 60s, and that's if I retire. I don't want to say early, but on time, which I guess on average it's still like that's on time. But some people are working until their 70s and they're still working, which is disgusting. You know, it's awful. It's like a greater conversation that we're having here, which is kind of insane. But I hopefully will maybe get to a point in life before I turn 40 where I can start playing more games, and that's how I intend on tackling it. And that would be before retirement. But I think we all are looking for the answer here, and I don't have it. And if you end up finding it, please contact me very promptly. But thank you for the question. Folks, oh my God, I think that's it. Was that all of them? I'll do some double checking here. Double checking. I feel like I'm not enunciating in the back half of this entire conversation. But I am going to refresh. Yep, Lauren was the last one on Patreon. We'll refresh YouTube. I just refreshed email. Nothing. I think that's it. Everyone, thank you so much. I love these. I love doing these. It's so fun. I think I took a grand total of 3 sips from this, so I'm going to take one more. That is still really cold. And this remainder, it hit room temperature. Oh boy, I'm going to make some dinner after this. Thank you all so much for being here, supporting. You allow me to live this life, and I couldn't be more thankful. You are wonderful people. And I will see you all for the next Q&A. Next quarter, baby. Getting excited. It'll be summertime. I might just be shirtless. I might go fucking wild, right? I'm working on my beach body. Working on that beach body. I am a guy who has a slightly hairy chest. Not super hairy, though. It's a little bit tame, if I'm being honest. I think Melissa wants wet food. Okay, I'm going to stop basically sexually assaulting you people. Thank you so much, and I will see you all in the next Q&A. Hey, you take it easy.